All right. All righty. Hang on just a second. We are live, ladies. Welcome in, everybody. I'm waiting to see the viewer count up top so that we can know. There we go.
Now, why is
Okay.
my TV not showing it? I wonder.
Well, we don't want you to have any noise in the background
No,
anyway.
I've got it on
You got it
0.
on mute.
Yeah.
It's up. There's always a delay, Patty.
Okay.
So that's good. Let's see. What do we got going on? Okay, guys, welcome in. Today, I cannot believe it. The Swan Boat Club trial actually started this afternoon. Blew my mind. I thought for sure it was going to take them at least a full day to have jury selection, but nope, especially with that attorney, with her attorney. But nope, it only took the morning. And Miss Patty is here to tell us all about what happened in the jury room. She was not allowed to take notes, but she's going to tell us what she can remember. First of all, welcome in my guests this evening, Miss Laura and Miss Patty.
Hello.
Hello.
Well, Miss Patty,
Yes.
tell us about your experience today at jury selection at the Swan Boat Club trial.
Well, I never, this was weird. I've never been in a courtroom before. So this was all like all new to me. So I went in, I went in the very back to sit. They actually switched where they normally hold his trials, Judge White's trials, to a different courtroom because they knew that they would need all the room. So it was in one of the larger courtrooms. So I sat in the very back because I didn't want to take seats from anybody, family or whatever. Plus there were a lot of potential jurors. I mean, it was standing room only. I mean, thankfully I was there early, so I got a seat right away. But it was standing room only after everybody came in. The judge started with, just basic instructions about what it's like to be a juror. And if you don't get called for this case, you're not off the hook because you have to call in on the 16th and then again on the 23rd. Because in our county, you're selected for jury duty for 6 weeks. So if you didn't get called for one trial, then you might get called for another one or another one after that. You're on the hook basically for 6 weeks unless you get called for the first trial, then you're done for however long. So
Right.
it's not like a one and done. A lot of places are one and done, but it's always been that way in this county. So once he did that, then the clerk started calling up one person at a time by their number and their name, and they sat in the jury box. And then the prosecutor went up and he asked a bunch of questions, just basic questions like, how much have you heard about this case? Do you know any of the participants? Um, are you a member of the boat club? Have you ever been affected by drunk driving? Just a lot of questions like that.
Were you
And that,
surprised at how people answered with if they had heard of the case or not?
no, not really. And every single person has said that they heard of the case. Now, some of them said, I heard about it when it first happened like a year ago. Some of them said, well, I've heard about it throughout the year, like on Facebook and the news and blah, blah, blah. But the main question was, and the judge asked this, can you set any biases aside to, review this case according to the facts and the facts only that you hear in this courtroom and judge it fairly that way, because it is a high profile case. So there are going to be, I mean, we're a small county, so there are going to be a lot of people that have heard about it. And he said, like, for instance, if you're looking on Facebook, he goes, you can't believe 99% of what you hear on Facebook, right? I mean, you have to look at the facts and the facts only. And I think most
Yeah.
people can do that. I'm not sure I could because I've delved into this case, like with you guys, in a lot of criminal cases. But most of these people are working people still, and they're busy. And most of
Right.
them are like, "Well, I haven't really followed it. Yeah, I've heard about it, but they don't know a lot of the details. All they know is that a couple of kids were killed, and it's very sad." And he said, "Yes, it is very sad. Can you set that aside and listen to the facts only?" Yes.
I think
Only one person, well, one came up and she was crying right away. And she could hardly even talk. She was crying and she knew some of the people and some of the victims and they're like the judge was like, I'm just calling it. Go, leave.
yeah. Yeah.
You're not gonna stay. And then another one, he was a little ticked at her because she said that she couldn't. she couldn't set her biases aside. She goes, I already have my opinion. And he says, but you haven't heard any of the facts of the case. The only thing you've heard is what you've heard on the news. A lot of times the news is wrong, or it's just an opinion of the news reporter, or, Facebook or whatever. He said, you can't set those biases aside and look at just the facts. She said, no. And he says, so if you voted today, right now, she says, oh, she's guilty. He goes,
Oh,
and he goes, well, he goes, I have a feeling that you're just saying that to get out of jury duty. He goes, well, I got news for you. He goes, you can leave today. He says, but you're not getting out of jury duty. He says, you need to call in on the 16th and the 23rd. You're excused. He was
oh,
ticked. He
oh,
was ticked.
oh.
And
Well,
I'm
you know
like,
what?
you go, Judge White.
Tell us about. Well, I don't want to
Because
sidetrack you too much, but tell
I
us
think
about
that
this
he knows.
judge.
I think
Tell.
that he knows because he's been around for ever since I can remember. I mean, he's been a judge for a long, long time. And I think that you get to a point probably where you can read people.
Yeah,
And I think that maybe he was reading her and she just didn't want to be there. I could be wrong because I'm not really good at that, but I'm getting that impression that that's what he was thinking. She just didn't
exactly.
want to be there. But she's the only one that he discharged that way. The other one lady was crying. There were not too many not preemptive, what do you call it, for cause, what they call for cause dismissals, but the preemptives. The prosecutor, I want to say, at the most had asked for 4 to be discharged. Her attorney, holy mackerel, that man was like one after another, one after another. And every time he'd sit down, he'd whisper to her and she'd whisper to him, and then they'd pick another person, kick them out. He must have, I didn't count, but I want to say between 12 to 15, he let go. That's why it took, 8:30 to 11:30 to do
I
that because
well, and I figured he was
it
going
was
to do
actually
that.
it was about 8:30 they started with the selection. Yeah.
I figured he was going to do that because he's going to look at her and go, "Do you know this person? Have you ever seen this person?" And if she's even seen that person, he's gonna be like, "No, no, no, no." But that makes sense, though. He has to do that. I get that.
Well,
But
there is one that is actually on the panel who is a member of the Swan Boat Club, knows
oh,
Marshella, and knows some of the victims.
oh
But
my gosh,
the judge, and the district attorney and her attorney all said, asked if she could set those biases aside, and she said absolutely. And she says, I feel like both sides deserve a fair trial, not just one side or the other.
that
And
is
they left
crazy.
her. Yeah. And there was another one. I'm trying to remember. I can't remember. It was another one that her attorney wanted booted off because their family had been affected by a drunk driver. They had lost a family member or something by a
Oh
drunk driver.
yeah,
And the
yeah.
judge said, absolutely not. He said, she already said she can set those biases aside. He said, that is not cause.
Oh wow, that surprises
Yeah.
me though.
Yeah. I
No
was a
wonder
little bit surprised at that one too.
No wonder they seeded so quickly. I mean, a
Yeah.
lot of times they're more. I don't know. Just from what I've seen, the parts we've only been able to watch jury selection, I think twice, but it seems
Hmm.
like they're anybody that has any inkling. But then again, we don't know. Do you know how roughly how many jurors they had, potential jurors they had that they
I
called
don't know
in?
how many potential, goodness, when it dismissed the jury once they were seated, dismissed everybody else and tell them call in on the 16th and again the 23rd. Um, I have to say probably a good 30 people walked out of the courtroom, but not counting all the ones that they'd kicked out before. So there, I would say maybe 50, and then there's 14 seated. I would guess maybe 75ish roughly that they called,
Mm,
potential jurors.
that is a lot.
There's 14 seated. There'll be 12, but there's 2 alternates, but we won't know those till the end.
Okay, so do you know? You said that you lost track of a lot of this because there was a lot of in and out at the end. You
Yeah.
don't know exactly how many men, how many women, age, or
I
anything
want
like
to
that?
say I want to say that it's pretty close to half and half,
Okay.
if I can remember correctly. Age-wise, maybe my age down to maybe late 20s, early 30s. So pretty much across the board, every average Joe. I mean, there was nobody that was like really dressed up fancy or anything. They're all just mostly jeans, sweatshirts, just. We got a lot of industry and farmer people around here, so
So you didn't see anyone that was probably in retirement age that was on the jury?
well, I am retirement age. I'm going to be 66 in April. Um, yep, a couple. In fact,
Okay.
one guy, I remember one guy did say, I just retired. I'm trying to remember if he got booted by her attorney. I keep forgetting his name. Koval or I forget
No,
his
don't say
name.
their name. Oh, the
Her
attorney.
no, her attorney. No,
Oh,
no.
okay.
I don't know any of the people's names. There were
Okay.
so many I couldn't tell you. No, I would never do. I would never dox jurors. That would be
Well,
awful.
that is so interesting. Okay, can you
Yeah.
think of, before we get started with the opening statements, can you think of anything else that you want to tell us?
No, I'm trying to think. The only person that I did recognize as far as like family is the uncle of the kids that were killed. Walked in, and I remember him because of they did the vigil, and then the news people were talking to him. Yeah, I don't remember if it was the night it happened or the next day, but I
I
remember him talking. Do you remember him talking? A little
I do.
slim guy, and I recognized him when he came in. Nobody else I didn't really recognize. But I'm sure that, there were a lot of family that were there.
Yeah.
And they weren't like, cause when I first came in, I'm like, I don't know which side to sit on. Cause I was like, I don't want to sit on her side, like supporting her. But then this one girl goes, she was like, it doesn't really matter in here. And I'm like, oh, okay. So everybody was like, and then I've come to find out he's family and he was on that side, sitting over on that side. So it's not like they were sitting over there supporting her. It's a huge courtroom. So you sit where you can sit.
I'm
So.
putting up the image that you were in there today. There's Pattie's seat today.
Now, why is it not showing on my TV?
It's a small delay.
Oh, you know why? I'm so dumb. Because I got March 7th up.
Oh, you got the wrong. Yeah, that's true. I
Oh,
wonder how many people. That's the only reason I hate setting up these live streams in advance is because it confuses people. But
oh
I,
my God, that's so funny.
I really did not. Really surprises me, guys, how quickly they seated that jury today. I really felt like at least a day, especially with
Well,
a close knit town like that where a lot of
yeah,
people know each other.
yeah, and I was kind of expecting it to be a lot longer too, but and especially with the way he was, kicking one after another out. But yeah, I mean, 3 hours, and let me tell you, I was actually in there for 4 hours, but for the actual jury picking part of it and the questions and stuff was about 3 hours.
That's
It
crazy.
was just so uncomfortable sitting there. If it wouldn't be for those seats and how far I have to walk just to get there and going up 3 flights of stairs, I would be going back. But my senior citizen body can't take it. I was afraid I wasn't going to make it back to my car because those seats are so horrible.
I couldn't sit still in a courtroom. It would drive me
It
crazy.
would. It wasn't so much that there's no cushioning and the way they're curved. It
Yeah.
killed my hips. I mean, it was just very, very uncomfortable. Um,
Well, do you want to stay like close by? And I tell you what, are you going to watch with us tonight?
yeah.
Why don't you take some notes as we go along, and then at the end or midway, if you want to come up and like if something because I feel like something's going to spur your memory, and you're going to say, oh, I want to tell y'all one more thing. So
Okay.
so stick around, and then I need if you can log out, and then if we need to put the link back up, we can. It's however you want to do it.
Because I thought I was gonna like after I talked, I could chat with people in the
Uh,
chat. I can't do that if I'm on this, right? No, I can't.
Yeah, that's true. I'll let you. Yeah, so we'll go ahead and let you off when we go ahead. I'm going to pull up the trial and we're going to watch the opening statements and whatever else they did. There's like 2.5 hours worth of coverage this evening
Yep.
that they started. Laura, did you say what? It was around 2:30 ish they started
Like
the
1:30,
trial?
2 o'clock, yeah, something like that. And they went through some rules, and then they went into the start of everything with the instructions and then the opening.
Yeah, because he
Okay.
told everybody to be back at 1, so that makes sense.
All
But
right. Well, we're going to
before
go.
you go, um, Carrie, you need to
Yeah.
yell at Mark.
What do you do?
Oh, he's
Already?
volunteering. Yeah, he's volunteering to sit on the jury for the Freeman versus Carey trial still.
Well, he's been a member for 17 months. I can't do too much to him.
And like he said, it's a good time, good long time and time out. And I said, well deserved.
we were going to get him a slot machine in the timeout room, so he was okay with that.
Yeah.
Good
Yeah,
Lord.
and he's trying to take everybody with him too.
Yeah. He's a very bad influence on Blanco, I know.
Yes.
Oh,
At
yes.
least at least my other guys in the chat aren't falling for him for his BS. We love you, Mark.
Yes, we do, Mark.
Don't fall for it, Irish. All right, guys, let's get this trial started. Everybody's waiting, and then I will touch back with you guys after we're done here.
Okay, sounds good.
All
Thanks,
right, I'm
guys.
going on mute
Thanks.
as usual.
Thank you, Miss Patty. Thank you,
Thank
You're
you,
Laura.
welcome.
Patty.
Okay, bye.
All right, let's do a little intro here for those
accused of crashing into the Swan Boat Club, killing two children.
for those of you who are not familiar with the trial. This is a quick intro.
Marshella Chidester is accused of crashing into the Swan Boat Club, killing two children in April of last year. Attorney tried to get her blood alcohol level thrown out, claiming it wasn't admissible due to where she was arrested, as well as claiming the test was handled improperly. The judge denied that motion. After today's hearing, her attorney says allowing this test to be admissible could taint the jury pool.
Jurors sometimes don't have the training, the certification. Once the result is out, sometimes they'll just think that that's the result. What is this attorney trying to do something with how the foundation was? The judge allowed it in. He said the numbers. That's good enough for me.
Chidester's attorney says she only had one glass of wine on the day of the crash and suffered a medical emergency causing that crash. If convicted, she faces up to life in prison.
Okay, so here we go. Day one.
Court facing second, you may be seated.
People of the state of Michigan versus Marshella Chidester.
All right, I've told our jury is back. Do we have any other questions, any other issues?
Yes, Your Honor. You can go forward.
Pardon me?
May I go forward?
Yeah.
All right, thank you, Your Honor. Just for the record, Bill Columbus on behalf of defendant T38434. Your Honor, I believe I may have a stipulation that's pretty codified, and that is the PBT will not be mentioned unless there's some exception with regard to the PBT being admitted. I just wanted to make sure it was on the record that nobody's going to mention that any of the officers or anything.
It's statutory. So
Right.
one of those motions to follow the law, right?
Correct.
Okay.
I like those motions.
All right.
Judge. And then next is we had our motion for an amended motion that I had filed. And I would make it on the record with regard to my expert to be able to testify by video. He's testified in federal cases throughout the country ever since COVID, actually. And I know the Supreme Court allows it, or the administration office, whatever allows it. Your Honor, so respectfully, I would request in my amended motion that I be able to have my expert toxicologist be able to testify at trial by video. Thank you.
What's your position, Mr. Warren?
Judge, I don't believe the court has allowed video testimony, particularly in capital cases, since the pandemic concluded. People didn't even consider having their experts testify by Zoom, despite they would also heavily prefer that.
Do you, hang on a second.
I'm sorry.
Do you oppose this motion?
I have to, yes.
All right.
Behind.
I'll give you the last say so. It's your motion.
Okay, thank you, Your Honor. Within the amended motion, it sets forth when records were received, it also sets forth with regard to my expert that's in his 70s, is a national expert, both medical doctor, and he expounds upon, and I attached it to the motion, that he cannot fly, unfortunately, due to an illness where it will cause, actually, he told me, a blood clot possibly to his brain. And airplane pilots have this where they are mandatory, they have to retire. So he suffers from that, he's unable to drive from Florida. Nobody would be prejudiced by it, and I believe, Your Honor, respectfully, it's more so the defense that when there's a Zoom hearing, we have to consent, or usually we should consent to it for the court to go forward. Here it's our expert, it's a material witness, it is our defense. So respectfully, Your Honor, the courtroom is set up for it, and we would ask, given those circumstances and everything set forth in my amended motion, that we be granted leave to be able to do that.
All right. Well, if the people had no objection, I would grant this. I've not done it in a trial. Cross-examination on Zoom. I've been on Zoom a long time, but never in a trial. Zoom is very hard to have, the social discourse that you need. So the prosecutor's opposed to it. They are entitled, as well as the defense is entitled to a fair trial. They're entitled to be able to question their witnesses, test their credibility, those types of things. The fact that he hasn't flown in 20 years. I don't understand how he hasn't flown in 20 years. You hired an expert in Florida who hasn't flown in 20 years, yet it's an emergency motion. It doesn't make sense to me. Certainly, if on Wednesday he'd have gotten the car driven, he'd be here by now. He still has time to get here. For all those reasons, the motion is denied.
Okay, thank you, Your Honor. Also, I talked to the prosecutor, Mr. Kennery, and he stipulated with regard to credentials and that CV of another expert that we have down. It's been filed in court in a copy to Your Honor last week.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
But just to clarify, we've stipulated to the CV part, and we haven't stipulated to the expert, or to his ability to testify.
I understood.
Okay.
All right. Let's bring the jury in, please. Well, no, we have one more.
last thing, Judge. People and defense, I think, move for sequestration of all potential witnesses, except as the court will pertain to action.
All right. If there's a witness in the courtroom, they are to leave the courtroom immediately, please. Don't see anybody moving. All right. Bring in the jury.
I have one additional.
All right.
Thank you, Judge.
Hurry up, because I
It's
just
just
told
a capital offense, that's why I wanted to make a record on this. I don't know if there's any victims that are going to be testifying or not. If they're not, certainly I understand that they're not going to be sequestered. Secondly, that I've learned that when the prosecution, I haven't even had a chance to put it in writing. I will tonight if you want to take it up tomorrow morning, formally by a motion. And that is the prosecution, when this accident happened, I filed an appearance immediately with.
Hang on 1 second, Don. I'm sorry. I jumped the gun.
I filed, thank you, Judge. I filed an appearance with the court, and I filed an appearance with the prosecutor at 9:03 in the morning, immediately after this happened.
Let's get right to the point, okay?
Okay.
What's your issue?
I filed at 9:03. At 3 o'clock, they executed a search warrant. The prosecutor's office knew of my appearance, and I represented. They had ex parte communication in getting a warrant without notifying me.
We're months past that. Months.
Judge, it doesn't mean that the 14th Amendment doesn't
All right.
apply.
Anything that you want addressed, you need to put in writing, properly press it, and we'll
And so if
address
it's
it.
morally done, you can violate the law. Okay.
All right, bring the jury in, please, Mike.
Holy moly, this judge is tough, you guys. I mean, I'm going to mute it while I'm talking. This judge is like no nonsense. I almost feel like he's, I don't know. Let's see how he acts towards the prosecution. He might be the same way, but wowzer. Is he going to be the one giving sentence to this lady, or is it's not a jury sentencing? It's him, right?
All right, you may be seated. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I appreciate you guys being on time. That's really important to keep things moving along. I previously swore you in. I have some of the preliminary instructions to continue to read you when you were in the jury room. You probably saw those. That's what I'm reading now. So there's a copy for each of you in there. At the end of the trial, I'm going to provide you with a copy of my final instructions so that you follow those to use during deliberations. I'm going to explain some of the legal principles you'll need to know in the procedure that will follow this trial. Elements of the charge. Defendant is charged in count 1 with a murder in the second degree. To prove this charge, the prosecutor must prove each of the following elements beyond a reasonable doubt. that the defendant caused the death of Alanah Grace Phillips, that is, that Alanah Grace Phillips died as a result of the defendant knowingly creating a very high risk of death or great bodily harm, knowing that death or such harm would be the likely result of her actions by driving intoxicated or recklessly or under the influence of alcohol and gabapentin. Second, that the defendant had one of three states of mind. She intended to kill, or she intended to do great bodily harm to Alanah Grace Phillips, or she knowingly created a very high risk of death or great bodily harm, knowing that death or such harm would be likely as a result of her actions. Count 2, murder in the second degree. To prove this, the prosecutor has to prove all the following elements beyond a reasonable doubt. First, the defendant caused the death of Zayn Isaac Phillips. That is, Zayn Isaac Phillips died as a result of the defendant knowingly creating a very high risk of death or great bodily harm, knowing that death or such harm would be a likely result of her actions by driving while intoxicated or recklessly or under the influence of alcohol and gabapentin. Second, that the defendant had one of three states of mind. She intended to kill, or she intended to do great bodily harm to Zayn Isaac Phillips, or she knowingly created a very high risk of death or great bodily harm, knowing that death or such harm would be likely the result of her actions. Count 3, operating a motor vehicle while intoxicated, causing death. To prove this charge, the prosecutor must prove each of the following elements beyond a reasonable doubt. First, the defendant operated a motor vehicle. To operate means to drive or have actual physical control of the vehicle. Second, the defendant operated the vehicle on a highway or other place open to the public or generally accessible to motor vehicles, including any designated parking area. Third, the defendant was intoxicated. That is, the defendant operated the vehicle with a blood alcohol of 0.08 grams or more per 100 milliliters of blood, or operated the vehicle under the influence of alcohol, or that due to the use and consumption of combination of alcohol and gabapentin, an intoxicating substance, the defendant drove with less ability than an ordinary careful driver. The defendant's ability to drive must have been lessened to the point that it would have been noticed by another person. It is the defendant's ability to drive that must be visibly lessened, not the defendant's manner of driving, though evidence of the defendant's manner of driving may be considered as evidence of the defendant's ability to drive. Fourth, the defendant voluntarily decided to drive knowing that she had consumed alcohol or a combination of alcohol or gabapentin, an intoxicating substance, and might be intoxicated. Fifth, that the defendant's operation of the vehicle caused the death of Alanah Grace Phillips. To cause the death, the defendant's operation of the vehicle must have been a factual cause of death. That is, but for the defendant's operation of the vehicle, the death would not have occurred. In addition, the death must have been a direct and natural result of operating the vehicle. Count 4, operating a motor vehicle while intoxicated, causing death. To prove this, the prosecutor must prove the following. First, the defendant operated a motor vehicle. To operate means to drive or have actual physical control of the vehicle. Second, the defendant operated the vehicle on a highway or other place open to the public or generally accessible to motor vehicles, including any designated parking area. Third, the defendant was intoxicated. That is, the defendant operated the vehicle with a blood alcohol of 0.08 grams or more per 100 milliliters of blood, or operated the vehicle under the influence of alcohol, or due to the use or consumption or combination of alcohol and gabapentin, an intoxicating substance. The defendant drove with less ability than an ordinary careful driver. The defendant's ability to drive must have been lessened to the point that it would be noticed by another person. It is the defendant's ability to drive that must have been visibly lessened, not the defendant's manner of driving, though evidence of the defendant's manner of driving may be considered as evidence of the defendant's ability to drive. Fourth, the defendant voluntarily decided to drive knowing that she had consumed alcohol or a combination of alcohol, gabapentin, an intoxicating substance, and might be intoxicated. Fifth, the defendant's operation of the vehicle caused the death of Zayn Isaac Phillips. To cause death, the defendant's operation of the vehicle must have been a factual cause of death. That is, but for the defendant's operation of the vehicle, the death would not have occurred. In addition, the death must have been a direct and natural result of the operating of the vehicle. Any objection to me summarizing on 5, 6, 7, 8, 9?
Not from the people.
No, Your Honor.
All right. All of the elements are the same. Count 5 is operating a motor vehicle while intoxicated, causing serious impairment of bodily function. As you'll see, all of the elements are the same. Operate the vehicle, the defensive operation, on a highway or other place open to the public, all of those things. And the final element in this particular case is that the defendant's operation of the vehicle caused a serious impairment of body function to Mariah Lynn Dodds. To create such an injury, the defendant's operation of the vehicle must have been a factual cause of the injury. That is, but for the defendant's operation of the vehicle, the injury would not have occurred. In addition, the injury must have been the direct and natural result of operating the vehicle. Count 6 is operating a motor vehicle while intoxicated, causing serious impairment of bodily function to another person. Again, all of the elements are the same, except in this one, the fifth element, the defendant's operation of the vehicle caused serious impairment of body function to Edward Thomas Smothers. To cause such injury, the defendant's operation of the vehicle must have been the factual cause of the injury. That is, but for the defendant's operation of the vehicle, the injury would not have occurred. In addition, the injury must have been the direct and natural result of operating the vehicle. Count 7, also operating a motor vehicle while intoxicated, causing serious impairment of bodily function. All of the elements are the same, except for element 5, and that pertains to injury caused to Zayn Bryce Phillips. Count 8, operating a motor vehicle while intoxicated, causing serious impairment of bodily function. All of the elements are the same, except for element 5, causing serious impairment of bodily function to Leah Marie Stiff. And then count 9, operating a motor vehicle while intoxicated, causing serious impairment of bodily function. All the elements are the same, except element 5, and this one is causing serious impairment of body function to Diane Virginia Medina. A person accused of a crime is presumed to be innocent. This means that you must start with the presumption that the defendant is innocent. This presumption continues throughout the trial and entitles the defendant to a verdict of not guilty unless you are satisfied beyond a reasonable doubt that she is guilty. Every crime is made up of parts called elements. The prosecutor must prove each element of a crime beyond a reasonable doubt. The defendant is not required to prove her innocence or do anything. If you find that the prosecutor has not proven each element beyond a reasonable doubt, then you must find the defendant not guilty. Proof beyond a reasonable doubt is proof that leaves you firmly convinced of the defendant's guilt. A reasonable doubt is a fair, honest doubt growing out of the evidence or lack of evidence. It's not merely an imaginary or a possible doubt, but a doubt based on reason and common sense. A reasonable doubt is just that, a doubt that's reasonable after a careful and considered examination of the facts and circumstances of this case. Trial procedure is as follows. First, the prosecutor makes his opening statement, where he gives his theories about the case. The defense lawyer does not have to make an opening statement, but he may if he wants to, or he may wait and make that opening statement later. These statements are not evidence. They're only meant to help you understand how each side views the case. Next, the prosecutor presents his evidence. He does that by calling witnesses to testify and showing exhibits like photographs and documents. The defense lawyer has the right to cross-examine the prosecutor's witnesses. After the prosecutor has presented his evidence, the defense attorney may also offer evidence, but he is not required to do so. By law, the defendant does not have to prove her innocence or do anything or produce any evidence. If the defense does call a witness, the prosecutor has the right to cross-examine them. The prosecutor may also call witnesses to contradict the testimony of the defense witnesses. After all the evidence has been presented, the prosecutor and defense lawyer will make their closing arguments. Like the opening arguments, these are not evidence. They're merely meant to help you understand the evidence and the way each side sees the case. You must base your verdict only on the evidence. My job as judge in this trial is to make sure the trial is run fairly and efficiently, to make decisions about evidence, and to instruct you about the law that applies in this case. You must take the law as I give it to you. Nothing I say is meant to reflect my own opinions about the facts of the case. As jurors, you're the ones who will decide the case. Your responsibility as jurors is to decide what the facts of the case are. That's your job and no one else's. You must think about all the evidence and all the testimony and decide what each piece of evidence means and how important you think it is. This includes how much you believe what each witness says. What you decide about the facts of the case are fine. Part of your job in deciding what the facts of the case are is to decide which witnesses you believe and how important you think their testimony is. You don't have to accept or reject everything a witness says. You're free to believe all, none, or part of a witness's testimony. In deciding which testimony you believe, you should rely on your own common sense and everyday experience. However, in deciding whether you believe a person's testimony, you must set aside any bias or prejudice you may have based on a witness's race, national origin, ethnicity, gender identity, or sexual orientation, religion, age, or socioeconomic status. There aren't any fixed rules about judging whether you believe a witness or not, but it might help you to think the following questions. Was the witness able to see and hear clearly? How long was the witness watching and listening? Was anything else going on that might have distracted the witness? Does the witness seem to have a good memory? How does the witness look or act while testifying? Does the witness seem to be making an honest effort to tell the truth, or does the witness seem to evade the questions or argue with the lawyers? Does the witness's age or maturity affect how you judge his or her testimony? Does the witness have any bias or prejudice or any personal interest in how this case is decided? Have there been any promises, threats, suggestions, or other influences that affect how the witness testifies? In general, does the witness have any special reason to tell the truth or any special reason to lie? In general, all in all, how reasonable does the witness's testimony seem when you think about all the other evidence in the case? When it's time for you to decide the case, you're only allowed to consider the evidence that was admitted in the case. Evidence includes the sworn testimony of the witnesses, any exhibits I admit into evidence, and anything else I tell you to consider as evidence. The questions the lawyers ask are not evidence. Only the answers are evidence. You should not think something is true just because one of the lawyers asked a question that assumes or suggests that it is. I could ask a question myself. These questions are not meant to reflect my opinion about the evidence. If I were to ask a question, my only reason is to ask about something I thought maybe wasn't fully explored. During the trial, you may think of an important question that would help you understand the facts. You are allowed to ask such questions. However, there's a very specific procedure for this. You must wait until the witness is finished testifying and both sides have finished their questioning. If you still have an important question, don't ask it yourself. Raise your hand, write the question down, pass it to my bailiff, who will give it to me. Do not show your question to other jurors. If your question isn't asked, it's because I determined under the law it should not be asked. Don't speculate about why the question wasn't asked. In other words, you should draw no conclusions or inferences about the facts of the case, nor should you speculate about what the answer might have been. Also, in considering the evidence, you should not give greater weight to the testimony merely because it was given in answer to questions submitted to members of the jury. If at any time you can't hear something or see something, please raise your hand immediately. During the trial, the lawyers may object to certain questions or statements made by other lawyers or witnesses. I'll rule on these objections according to the law. My rulings for or against one side are not meant to reflect my opinions about the facts of the case. Sometimes the lawyers and I will have to discuss things out of your hearing. Also, while you're in the jury room, I'll have to take care of matters that have to do nothing with this case and other has to do with other cases. Please pay no attention to these interruptions. You must not discuss this case with anyone, including your family or friends. You must not even discuss it with each other until the time comes for you to decide the case. When it is time for you to decide the case, I'll send you back to the jury room for that purpose. Then you should discuss the case only amongst yourselves, but only in the jury room, and only when all jurors are present. You must not talk to the defendant, the lawyers, the witnesses, or anyone connected with this case. This means you may not speak to these individuals, even if it has nothing to do with the case itself. You should be very cautious about speaking to people because you may inadvertently speak to someone connected with this case. This restriction is necessary to avoid even the appearance of an improper conduct on any person's part. If someone tries to discuss the case with you or in your presence, tell them to stop. Explain that you're a juror and you're not allowed to discuss the case If they continue, leave and report this to my staff as soon as you return to court. When the trial is over, these restrictions no longer apply. So when the trial is over, you may, if you wish, discuss the case with anyone. During the trial, do not read, listen to, or watch any news reports about the case. Under the law, evidence you consider to decide must meet certain standards. For example, witnesses swear to tell the truth. The lawyers must be able to cross-examine them. Because news reports do not meet these standards, they could give you an incorrect or misleading information that might unfairly favor one side or the other. So to be fair to both sides, you must follow this instruction. The restrictions I'm about to describe to you are meant to ensure the parties get a fair trial. In our judicial system, it's crucial that jurors are not influenced by anything or anyone outside the courtroom. Under the law, the evidence you consider must meet certain standards. As I said before, witnesses swear to tell the truth. The lawyers are able to cross-examine them. Because information outside the courtroom doesn't have these same safeguards, it could give you an incorrect or misleading information that might unfavorably favor one side or the other. These restrictions start now and continue until I discharge you from jury service. It is your duty as a juror to decide this case based solely on the evidence you see and hear in this courtroom. You must not consider information that comes from anywhere else. This means until you deliver your verdict, you must not read, watch, listen to, or receive any information, including opinions or commentary about this case, whether in newspapers, television, radio, internet, or on social media platforms. You must not research any aspect of this case during the trial. This means research regarding your cell phone, computer, or other electronic device to search the internet, as well as research with traditional resources like dictionaries, reference manuals, newspapers, or magazines. Excuse me. You must not investigate this case on your own or conduct any experiments concerning the case, including experiments using those items I mentioned. You must not visit the scene of any event that took place in this trial. If it was necessary for you to view the scene, the court staff would take you there as a group under court supervision. You must not consider as evidence any personal knowledge you have of the scene. You must not share any information about the case by any means, including cell phones or social media. This means even if you're not discussing the case with someone else, you may not post any information about the case on social media websites or in any other manner. If you discover that a juror has violated my instructions, please report it to the court staff. You may take notes during the trial if you wish, but you don't have to. If you do take notes, you should be careful that it doesn't distract you from paying attention to all the evidence. When you go to the jury room to decide your verdict, you may use your notes to help you remember what happened in the courtroom. If you do take notes, don't let anyone except the other jurors see them, and only during deliberations. Your notes will not be examined by anyone else, and when your jury service concludes, your notes will be collected and destroyed. You can see that we've chosen a jury of 14. After you've heard all the evidence and my instructions, we'll draw lots to decide which two of you will be dismissed to form a jury of 12. Possible penalties should not influence your decision. If you find the defendant guilty, it's the duty of the judge to fix the penalty within the limits provided by law. I may give you more instructions during the trial, and after all of the evidence is entered and you hear the lawyer's closing arguments, I will give you additional instructions about the rules of law that apply in this case. You should consider all of my instructions a connected series. Taken together, they are the law that you must follow. After my final instructions, you'll go to the jury room to decide your verdict. A verdict must be unanimous. That means every juror must agree on it, and it must reflect the individual decision of each juror. It's important for you to keep an open mind and not make a decision about anything in this case until you go to the jury room to decide the case. You must not let bias, prejudice, public opinion influence your decision. Each of us has biases or perceptions that about other people based on stereotypes. We may be aware of some of our biases, though we don't express them. We may not be fully aware of some of our other biases. Take the time you need to test what might be automatic or instinctive judgments and to reflect carefully about the evidence. I caution you again to avoid reaching conclusions that might have been unintentionally influenced by stereotypes. You must reach your own conclusions about this case individually, but you should do so only after listening and considering the opinions of other jurors who may have different backgrounds and perspectives from yours. That includes our initial instructions. You ready for your opening statement?
People are thinking that. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Last year, on April 20th, a young mother named Kristen Sigler threw a birthday party for her 3-year-old son, Stetson. Like many mothers, Kristen went all out for the party. She had a face painting station, a hot dog bar, entertainers, props and backdrops for photos, and even a bounce house outside of the party. Kristen has worked for several years at the Swan Boat Club in Berlin Township, Newport, state of Michigan, right on Lake Erie. She used the club's event space to hold the party. The party started at noon, and by a little before 3 p.m., the party guests had just finished singing happy birthday to the guest of honor. By all accounts, it was a very successful party, it was well attended, and the kids there were taking advantage of all the attractions. However, at the same time, less than 2 football fields away at her home, the defendant was leaving, pulling out onto Branchaw Road. She was also headed to the boat club. Both of these events are memorialized on camera. The party was captured on the Swan Boat Club security cameras, and the defendant on a home camera mounted above her garage building across the street. Mariah Dodds, a longtime friend of Kristen's, and her 3 children, Jaden, Zayn, and Alanah Phillips, had just sat down at a table to enjoy their lunch from the party's hot dog bar. As they were beginning their meal, the defendant backed out of her driveway, accelerated her car in an arc out of her driveway, crashing into a small tree and then into her neighbor's full-size pickup truck, forcing it through a wooden fence. The defendant then places her car in drive and speeds off toward the boat club, just 4 houses down. As Mariah grabs cake pops at the dessert station for her kids, the defendant barrels at full speed down Branchaw Road and makes a right turn into the club parking lot. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Ken Lorraine. I'm an assistant prosecutor for the County of Monroe. Along with my fellow assistant prosecutors, Christopher Marriott and Alexis Hatch, we will prove to you over the course of the next several days that defendant's actions in this case make her guilty of the charges of second-degree murder for Zayn and Alanah Phillips, OWI causing death for Zayn and Alanah Phillips, and OWI causing serious impairment of a body function for Zayn and Alanah's mom, Mariah, their brother, Jaden, and for Ed Smothers, Leah Stith, and Diane Medina. I don't particularly like long and winding opening statements. I like to give the jury what I would want if I were a juror. A roadmap, a table of contents to what the prosecution will present to you over the course of the trial. To simplify things for you folks, basically the way we're going to present this is you're going to hear from our witnesses in 4 groups. The first group will be guests and boat club members at the party. They'll talk about the party, they'll talk about the crash, and to some degree, they'll talk about what they saw of the defendant. Some of them will help us show you video of the crash and its aftermath. Some of them will simply tell you what they saw and what they remember, or what they don't remember. And they'll tell you what they went through. You will not hear from all of them. By most accounts, there were some 80 people in and out of the party through the course of the day, and several others that just wandered over from the boat club proper after the crash. The second group you will hear from is the first responders, the captain of the Frenchtown Fire Department, and many members of the Monroe County Sheriff's Office. They arrived on scene shortly after the crash. They will give you more information about the crash, its results, and the steps they took to investigate it. Again, you won't hear from all of them. Law enforcement officers from at least 4 agencies were on scene, as were multiple fire departments, ambulance companies, and 2 life flight helicopters. You will hear the stories from the witnesses we call and see some of the footage from their body-worn cameras. Through that medium, you will also hear from the defendant. Next, we're going to call a group of witnesses that are necessary under the rules of evidence for you to hear about what was in the defendant's blood when she crashed your car. As I spoke about a little bit in voir dire, the rules of evidence are sometimes strict and not always straightforward, but they are important to ensure a fair trial, both for the defendant and for the victims. Finally, you'll hear from some of the surviving victims: Mariah, Edward, Leah, and Diane. We'll tell you what they can remember from the crash, about their injuries, and somewhat about their road to recovery. Before I conclude, I want to speak just briefly about the jury instructions that the judge highlighted and give you a sense of what the people think you should be watching for over the course of the next few days. We could bring up you don't have to be able to entirely read this. You'll get it printed out at the end of the trial. But just roughly, as to the 5 counts 4 through 9, of OWI causing serious impairment of a body function, we have to prove that the defendant voluntarily operated her vehicle, that she did so in a parking lot or a place accessible to the general public, and that while she was operating, she was either legally intoxicated, which is what we all hear about when we think of drunk driving, that she was a 0.08 or higher, or that she was under the influence of alcohol. In other words, I could think of a 90-pound, 25-year-old woman who I could give 1 glass of wine to. She could be at a 0.04, but just be drunk out of her mind. So it's not always just a 0.08. That's the legal limit. And we consider if you're over a 0.08, regardless of how you feel, you're legally intoxicated. But it is possible for you to find intoxication under a 0.08. Or we can prove that she was impaired by the consumption of alcohol and the consumption of an intoxicating substance called gabapentin. And that in doing this, in driving, after ingesting these substances, she caused a serious injury to one of those 5 victims. Similarly, the 2 counts of operating while intoxicated causing death, the deaths of Zayn and Alanah Phillips. The beginning part of the jury instruction is the same. We have to prove the operation, its voluntariness, its location, and its intoxication. But in this, we also have to prove that due to the operation, she was the factual and proximate cause of the death of these 2 children. As to the people's first 2 counts, the counts at the top of the complaint, 2 counts of murder in the 2nd degree, the people will prove that the defendant's actions caused the death of Zayn and caused the death of Alanah, and that she had one of 3 states of mind. That is to say, what was her legal intent? We must show that she intended to kill, or she intended to cause great bodily harm. In other words, she drove through the boat club wall intending to kill someone or intending to seriously harm someone. Or the 3rd state of mind, that she knowingly created a very high risk of death or great bodily harm by her actions, knowing that death or great bodily harm was the likely result of what she did. Intent is what is in a person's mind when they commit an act. It's what they are thinking when they act. The jury instruction will tell you that you determine someone's intent from what they said, what they did, and how they did it. It will also tell you that you can use any other facts or circumstances in the case to determine a defendant's intent. These are some of the things to look out for over the course of the next few days. At the conclusion of the trial, I'm going to stand back up here again, and we're going to go over a lot of the evidence. And the people will contend that on behalf of the victims and on behalf of the people of the state of Michigan, that you should find the defendant guilty of 2 counts of 2nd-degree murder, 2 counts of OWI causing death, and 5 counts of OWI causing serious impairment of a body function. Thank you, folks.
Thank you, Mr. White. Would you like to make your opening statement now or later?
Now, Your Honor.
Thank you.
There's no question. This is very, very sad of what took place. Very sad. There's nothing nice or near nice of the events that took place, and 2 children died and people were injured. There's nothing. But what this case is about, bless you, what this case is about is, was there an intent to kill someone? Was there an intent to be reckless? And I'll come back at closing argument, we call it, where we get to talk to you one more time. So we don't talk to you at all during the case, but then we're allowed by the judge to do closing arguments, and we try to put it together. Certainly, I can tell you by, we looked at the police reports and things like that, and we had 1 or 2 hearings. So we know a little bit of ahead of time. It's like sort of, I mean to make light of it, but sort of a little bit like the coming attractions on a movie, whatever. So that's why we sometimes stand up here and we talk. It's not because we read minds. We have a good idea of the facts, at least how we interpret it. I, again, can't stress to you, and I'm very sincere, I can't stress to you how important this case is for everybody, and for everybody to be able to move on. And I stand before you with a lot on my shoulders because I represent Marshella Chidester. She can't get up as a lawyer and do her case, okay? So I have a lot on my shoulders, and I welcome it. I can pick and choose at this age which case I want to do. And this, she needed somebody to come forward. And sometimes, and I have a lot of respect for news organizations, certainly, but sometimes it's just a snapshot or a conclusion, or maybe your World War II yellow journalism or whatever, or something to do whatever. But this trial, all of you sit back, attentive, all of you are back, and you'll be able to listen to all the testimony. What an honor to serve on a jury to begin with in America, but to this magnitude. You can really, you're serving on a jury. You are doing a job that probably, if it was another case, I wouldn't look forward to. Because you're going to make a decision during these trial of credibility, who to believe, who not to believe, what makes sense, what doesn't make sense, and that's what I want you to do. That's what we want you to do. So the proofs, we believe, are going to show this. And I don't have to make an opening argument. I can waive it completely or wait till the defense goes on. But I choose to stand right up because the plaintiff, the prosecutor, made a good opening argument. He made a good argument. The proofs, I believe, are going to show that you're going to get to know a little bit of Marshella Chidester through possibly people that are going to come in. That she was in the military at 18 years old. That she served 4 years in the Army, the real Army. I'm not talking about something up north, and I don't knock that at all, but she was serving. She was serving. And you're going to get to know about her life through people, and that she's never been pulled over for a ticket in her life. She's a better driver than me. And she's never had a ticket to even get pulled over for in her 50-some years. We believe the proofs will show her credibility. And that's what this is. This case, like a lot of cases, are about credibility. And that she was an excellent driver. I believe the proofs will show, I know the proofs will show that she suffered from seizures and neuropathy. And it wasn't something the proofs will show that it's just made up that day. She had been going through it, the proofs will show, for a long time, and was treated at U of M, Cornwell, Beaumont, whatever name it goes by today, on 4th Street and Trenton. There'll be proofs on this. And it also showed that it didn't happen all the way that she had these seizures all the time. It'd be pretty rare. But when she had one, it was not good. I think the proofs will show that when she has a seizure, documented, her feet go down, like real hard, the proofs will show, and her hands too. And then after less than a minute, the proofs will show that it relaxes again and you're a little bit spaced out. And for up to an hour. The proofs will show on our side of the table that when you see the videos, and normally I'm not nuts about videos, but when you see the videos that they believe will fully support, it'll support a vehicle being put to the floor from her house to go 450 feet. Put to the floor, metal to the pedal, pedal to the metal, whatever, put to the floor. The proofs will show such that going on is out of character completely, Something happened. And we believe the proofs will show, you keep an open mind, please, will show that's exactly what the proofs will show, is that the feet go down. And you do, when I was growing up, it was called a hole spot. You punch it right to the floor. I never did that, but it was like drag racing back when I was growing up. And just took off in a gravel place. And the cameras catch this vehicle just taking off and going right there. The proofs will show. She won't drive that way. She's been driving a long time, 50, 55 years. The proofs will show that when this happened, and it's horrible, that the vehicle went in 25 feet into the building. Horrible. It was a birthday party. I've had children. I know. Couldn't imagine it. The proofs will show that when she was honest with them, because you look for other evidence for credibility, corroborating evidence, the proofs will show that she said, they say, what's going on? Police arrive. That I had one glass of wine. Police hear that, I'm sure, a lot. I've only had one or two, and they get arrested for drunk driving. So where were you? At Vernus. And the police immediately do their job, which is wonderful. Here's a defense attorney telling you, great, you did a great job. They went down there, they masked it off, whatever, taped it off, whatever. It's a criminal place. You were there at lunch. You paid by credit card, debit card, whatever. They get it with a subpoena. They talk to the lady first that works there, Kelly Thornton. I subpoenaed her to be here for the trial. And she says that, I know, Marshella and Don, her husband, and there was another couple that was here, but Don wasn't here. She had one glass of wine and she had some soup and a sandwich or fish or something. They get the subpoena, she does a copy of it. We'll have it as evidence. I'm not making it up. And it'll show she had one glass of wine. Exactly. So the proofs will show, I think, credibility-wise, exactly what she said before anybody went anywhere. She said, I had a glass of wine. And the lady that comes in, the proofs will show she didn't finish it. There was still some in it.
And she packed it up, the food, and for her to take home. And she just lives not far at all from it. I'm very happy the police moved on it right away, because so many people sometimes say, oh, officer, I only had 1 or 2 drinks. The proofs will show it was less than 1. And the proofs will show that the officer asked her, well, what was her condition? It was fine. Okay. The proofs will show that she has this neuropathy. And when she walks, I'm going to have her walk in front of you. When she walks, the proofs will show she walks like this. Now, if I see somebody coming out of a porch or going in the car walking like this, I'm thinking somebody's, keep it clean, somebody's messed up. Okay? Somebody's been doing some drugs or alcohol. Unless you know the person from before. Never met him before, never met her before. She never gets pulled over, ever. So, here we go with a snap judgment. The proofs will show that this person's got to be drunk out of their mind. So, the proofs will show that the accident happened, of course. And the officers came up to her, the proofs will show. We expect the proofs to show. Then when they came up, they started talking to her. This was right after the accident. Somebody got her out of the car and she was sitting there. I think she got like an American scarf flag or something sitting there. She was a former Commodore. Never had any problems, ever. So the officers will talk and they'll bring in some video on that because we had a hearing. They showed some video on that. The proofs will show that they're talking to her. If anybody's been around with our life experiences, the proofs will show somebody's slurring, somebody's looks a little drunk, even a little bit. The proofs will show that she's speaking probably better than me, more clear than me. And that's up to you to see. I'm not making it up. The proofs will show that. Crystal clear. Now, she was just in a collision, had an attack, then went 25 feet into a building, and they're going to start interviewing her. The proofs will show that event, she talked about it's 1 glass of wine, truthful. And then they asked her, on a score of 1 to 10, the proofs will show, how intoxicated are you? Well, she's in another zone, going through a wall 25 miles an hour and having an attack. And then they ask her, well, are you able to drive? Well, hello. The proofs will show, am I able to drive? I just crashed into a building. So, the judge will, a lot of people say, don't leave your common sense out there when you're serving as a jury. You've got life experiences. Keep that with you. Don't let that out. Don't be sterile. You can bring life experiences in. You just can't make up your mind until all the proofs are in one way or another and deliberate and respect each other. The proofs will show that it's almost like an immediate conclusion on the police department. And I have great respect for the police. I have relatives police. The proofs will show that they got a search warrant and wanted to get blood from her. She had no problem if you want to do a blow breathalyzer or whatever. They didn't ask her. We want to do blood. And she even signed a consent form. Didn't even need whatever. She's not hiding anything. There's nothing to hide. Then they took the blood. They had it tested. We're going to get into all that. Not right now, of course, because I'm trying to somewhat keep it short. But there's a lot that's going to be covered because this didn't happen in a minute. It was a lot longer than a minute. And it's been a year. And this trial is going to be a few days long. So that's why I wanted to jump in and let you know at least where the defense is coming from. So you can have it in the back of your mind and say, hopefully Mr. Clovis, Bill Clovis, let's see what he's talking about. Will this go together? Like he says. I feel very confident. I'm not going to over feel confident, but I feel confident that the proofs will show what I just said, what I've represented to you. I'm pretty strong on my representations, Roz. I don't think. The proofs will show that she always was cooperative. She was always crystal clear. The proofs will show that when they asked her to do a sobriety test of the alphabet, I'm talking about at the scene, she was able to do the alphabet. Perfect. No swearing. Perfect. Not skip anything, not say double, not miss it, not end early. That's another something to look at. Is that somebody, if you're going to say that they're so heavily intoxicated and people don't know where they're at, what day it is or what time, this person's saying the alphabet, talking like almost like you and I. These are things I want you to keep in mind. Why am I hitting this so hard? And I'm sure the judge is looking at me right now, with all due respect, saying you're taking a long time. Because I got 2 counts of murder too on my client. That's why. It's called a capital offense. This isn't playing a little game. 2 counts of capital murder. Murder 2. And all the other offenses. That's why. And I'm taking it very personal. Because I want to see what's done right. And I respect each and every one of you, especially when you're watching this. And it's a long time to be trapped in a seat that's not comfortable. And we appreciate it. We thank you in advance. Please wait till all the evidence is in. They get to go first. I bite my lip, like I said earlier, till we get to put up any proofs. Please don't do a knee-jerk reaction and wait till all the proofs are in. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Phillips. First witness.
Thank you, Judge.
I have about 8 witnesses they're going to call. They have about 8 witnesses they're calling today, you guys. Like boom, boom, boom. They're getting them in there.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this matter before the court shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? I do.
Ma'am, right this way. Watch your step. I got the chair.
Thank you.
Make sure the chair doesn't roll off there.
If you would state your name and spell your last name, please.
Kristen Sigler, first name Kristyn, last name Sigler, Sigler.
Thank you. Mr. Warren.
Thank you, Judge. Ms. Sigler, how do you know about the Swan Boat Club?
I worked there since about 2018. My sister is also a member there.
In what capacity did you work there?
I was one of the head bartenders for about 5 years. It was a seasonal job, so in the slower months, we didn't work as much, but then in the summer, it's a full-time job again.
Through that end, did you plan a birthday for your party or a birthday party for your son at the boat club?
I did. His 3rd birthday, I rented the pavilion area.
And when you say the pavilion, what does that include?
So there's a main building, which is the boat club and the bar, and then there's what we call a breezeway, which is basically like a garage door entryway to another building that private parties are hosted or other functions.
And do you refer to the building as the pavilion or the area out back as the pavilion?
The building itself.
Ms. Sigler, I'm just going to show you this just to make life easier.
You're going to be stand up, or is it going to be on there?
It could be on there too, but just so you've seen it.
Okay. Yeah.
Does this look familiar?
Yes.
What is this property?
The parking lot area and the pavilion of the boat club.
Okay. This has been marked as People's 9K. Ms. Sigler, is this a fair and accurate representation of an overhead view of the property where you worked for some 6 years?
Yes.
Okay. People would move for the admission of 9K.
Response? No objection. People's 9K is admitted.
And I'm just going to leave this here for the jury to have something to understand where, when you're talking about locations and things like that. Could we bring the So, Miss Sigler, when you say the pavilion, can you see that okay?
Mhm.
Or should I hold the?
No, I can see that.
So the dirt area, is that the Swan Club parking lot?
Yes.
And then the two buildings right there on the water.
So the one on the right with like a slide-in playground area behind it is the pavilion, and the area to the left is the main building.
And when you reference a breezeway, what structure are you referring to?
It's kind of hard to see, but where that little white door is in between, there's like a connecting.
So
part
a
with
small
buildings.
structure that connects the two buildings.
Yes,
So you rented the building on the right for your
Yes.
son's birthday party.
yes,
And that was on April 20th, 2024?
yes,
And that was in Berlin Township, Newport, state of Michigan?
yes.
What time was the party scheduled to begin?
It was from 1 to 4.
How many guests were invited?
Around 70.
How many turned out?
At least 50. Some people came a little bit earlier and had to leave. Some people came a little bit later.
Okay. Are you familiar with Mariah Dodds?
Yes, I am.
How are you familiar with her?
We have been best friends since we were 5.
Okay. Are you familiar with her children?
Yes, they're my godchildren.
Was Mariah invited to the party?
Yes, she was.
How about her children?
Yes.
Do you recall what time they arrived?
I think it was a little after 2 because they were running late.
Okay. What about Ed Smothers? Are you familiar with him?
Yes, that's
Oh.
Mariah's nephew. I also, knowing them since I was 5,
Okay.
I just consider him one of my nephews. He's not blood though.
And how about Diane Medina?
She's a friend.
Okay. Is she also a member of the Swan Boat Club?
She is a member of the Swan Boat Club.
Okay. And how about Leah Stiff?
That is my niece,
Okay. Your blood niece?
my sister's stepdaughter.
Okay. So the party began at 1. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And Mariah and her children arrive around 2 p.m. Is that correct?
Yep.
So you have to answer yes,
I'm sorry.
Or-
Yes.
and you can't just nod your head because they're recording.
Okay.
I know it's hard, but okay?
Yeah.
Thank you. So approaching 3 a.m. or 3 p.m., what was happening at the party?
We had just got done singing happy birthday. It was around 2:40, 2:45. We sang happy birthday. And the entertainers were going to be leaving, so I told everybody just to continue to play, and that there were little cake pops instead of real cake. So just grab one of those and continue playing. I didn't really have a sit down dinner, it was just kind of buffet style, eat as you go. So we had just got done singing happy birthday and everybody was just back to enjoying the party.
Okay. And did you go outside at some point on the phone?
I did. I received a phone call from my friend Amy because her children and her husband were there, but she couldn't make it. So I was FaceTiming her just to show her everything and catch up with her for a minute.
Okay. Did anything out of the ordinary happen then?
Yeah, there was a very loud, what sounded like a bomb. And I was right by the door, so I ran in and it looked like a bomb at that point. I didn't know what happened. There was just my son and his cousins right in the doorway. And so I got them outside and there was just debris everywhere.
Was there dust in the air? Was it hard to see?
Yes, there was a lot of dust still floating around. Some lights were flashing.
After you got your son and the other children outside, what did you do then?
I went back in and found Diane Medina and my niece Leah on the ground. So I started picking the debris up off of them and trying to help with them.
What happened then?
Then I seen one of the little girls got put on top of the bar because she was thrown behind it. And so I got her off the bar and set her down next to somebody that she knew. And then I seen Marshella coming around the side of her car.
Well, let's hold on and back up. So where are the little girl and Diane and Leah? Where are they in relationship to the vehicle?
The vehicle was pushed all the way in front of them. So when I came in the back door, immediately Leah was on the ground. Then Diane Medina, the car was shoved up, and the little girl, after I started pulling stuff off, she got set on top of the bar, like right in front of me kind of. So I took her off.
And so at this time, you're inside the event space. What is the tenor inside? What's it like? Is it completely silent?
Oh, no. There was screaming, yelling. I accidentally stepped on Diane when I was trying to help her. So we were trying to maneuver around people without hurting them. Yeah, it was just chaos.
So you indicated at one point you saw the defendant.
Yes.
Did you know the defendant prior to this?
Yes.
How did you know her?
She comes into the Swan Boat Club where I worked.
Okay. Do you see the defendant in the courtroom here today?
I do.
Could you point her out for the jury? And
Record should reflect the witnesses identified the defendant.
thank you, Judge. After you saw the defendant, what happened?
I went over to her. I was kind of already right there. So I was at the back of her car. She was being walked around the back of her car. And I grabbed her. And then I realized that it was a car that was in front of me, because before I didn't realize it was a car. I just seen a big mess. And so when we got to the back of her car, I grabbed her and I started yelling at her. And somebody yelled, "There's a kid under the car." So I told her to pop her trunk so we could get a jack. She popped the trunk. I started looking for the jack. She came like kind of back over towards me. I grabbed her again and was yelling at her kind of close to her face. And she said, "Tweety, where's Don?" Which Tweety is my nickname. And Don is her husband. So at that point, her talking to me, I could smell alcohol on her. I kind of realized like she just drove her car into the building. So at that point, I told her just to get the F away from me, and I threw her down.
Okay. You testified just a moment ago that at some point people started yelling, "There's a kid under the car." What did you do as it related to that?
Well, I looked for the jack for a minute, and a bunch of the guys that were at the party grabbed 2x4s or 2x6s that were on the ground and just said, "On the count of 3, we're gonna lift. We need you to go under." So once they lifted, I seen Zayn. He was underneath the driver's side wheel well of the car, and he was reaching out. So when they lifted, I got underneath it and pulled him out, and it felt like for 5 minutes, but it was just a few seconds. I put him on my lap and the back of his head was bleeding. And his arm was just kind of limp and all bloody. And he had blood on his shirt and his face. But I asked him if he knew who he was, and he said, yeah, Zayn. And I said, you know who I am? He said, yes, God, Mom. And then somebody yelled, Tweety, there's another. So I handed Zayn to my sister and tried to go back under for Alanah. But I couldn't reach her. And the car started slipping, so they told me to come back out.
And what did you do then, Kristen?
I followed behind my sister. She was carrying Zayn outside. And I followed behind her and told her just to keep talking to him. And then I had to go try to get Alanah from the other side, which was the breezeway.
And what did you see when you got to the breezeway?
In the door frame, Alanah was wedged in between it. But she was already gone. She was blue and discolored. And Edward, which is her cousin, was laying in front of her, and her mom was laid up against the wall a few feet away from them.
So what did you do then while you were in the breezeway?
I tried to shield Mariah from seeing Alanah, and I made eye contact with Edward and told him just to keep looking straight, told Mariah to keep looking straight. And then the sirens, I could hear the sirens, so I told them that I had to go get help. And both of them asked me not to leave them, but I knew that I needed first responders, I needed somebody. So I ran out, and the first EMS worker stopped right in front of Zayn and my sister and started helping with him. And then I directed him to where Mariah was. But then they wouldn't let me in either area anymore.
Okay. So that was kind of all you saw of what went on that day, at least firsthand. All right. I don't have any further questions for this witness, Judge.
Cross. All right, may this witness be excused.
For now, Judge, we'd ask her to remain as a potential rebuttal witness.
All right.
So she's free to leave for today.
But she can't be in the
still
court.
out.
All right, thank you. Next witness.
Oh, good
Judge,
gracious.
you will call William Paul Schmidt.
Oh, this might be tough to watch. Thank you so much, Mark, for your super chat. Yeah, she needs to stay off the stand because prosecution is gonna just tear her up. Don't you think?
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give in this matter before the court shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Sir,
Watch your step.
If you would state your name and spell your last name for us, please.
My name is William Paul Schmidt. That's SCHMIDT.
Thank you. Sir.
Thank you, Judge. Mr. Schmidt, where do you live?
I live at 6288 Branshaw.
Where is that in relationship to the Swan Boat Club?
I'm directly next door to it.
I'm going to show you what is up on the screen is People's Exhibit 9K. Is that your house right there? This blue house directly next to the boat club?
Yes, it is.
Okay. And were you living there on April 20th of 2024?
I was.
And do you know Marshella Chidester?
I do.
How do you know Miss Chidester?
I've known her family pretty much all my life.
And do you know where she lives in relation to the boat club?
I do.
Where does she live?
Approximately 4 houses down.
In which direction? Towards the boat club or past the boat club? Or
On your way to the boat club, it would be the house just a little down the road across the street from the red barn. See that barn that's sitting out there far on the road?
this barn right here?
That's her barn.
Her house is the one directly across the street, this
Correct.
house here.
Yes,
Okay.
I believe so.
And were you home on April 20th of 2024?
Yes, I was.
And did something draw your attention to the boat club on that day?
Yes, it was a huge sound pretty much. We heard like something like an explosion, saw kids running around.
And do you know approximately what time that would have been?
About 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
And what did you do when you heard that loud, big sound?
I went to investigate it. There were some kids that used to tear up the parking lot, and I thought maybe it was them. So I wanted to make sure that at least I got it on video and tried to stop them from leaving the scene if it was them.
And what did you see?
I saw a hole on the side of the boat club.
And when you saw that hole, what did you do?
I turned my cell phone on and started recording so I can get evidence for the police and basically so they can figure out what the heck happened.
So when you turned your cell phone on, you saw the hole, but you had not entered yet.
I have not entered the hole.
Okay. And did you enter the boat club at some point?
Yes,
How did you enter the boat club?
through the hole.
What did you see when you entered the hole in the boat club?
Oh, it looked like a war zone. People were laying everywhere, mostly unconscious. The whole side of the building was pushed to the corner of the building.
And you were recording this on your cell phone while this was going on?
Yes, I had a cell phone in front of me as I was walking through the room.
And did you provide a copy of that recording to law enforcement?
Yes,
Have you reviewed that cell phone recording?
I have.
And is it a fair and accurate depiction of what you saw on that day?
Yes,
Do you also have video surveillance on your home?
I do.
How many cameras do you have outside your home?
I had 4 at that time.
At 4 at that time. And where were they located on your home?
They're located on the corners of the house, one in the southeast corner, one in the northeast corner, one at the front door, and one in the garage.
Do any of them face the Swan Boat Club or the road in front of your home?
Yes, the one in the northeast corner faces towards the boat club and their parking lot.
How long have you had this system?
Oh, about 6 years.
And who maintains it?
I do.
And on April 20th of 2024, was it in good working order to your knowledge?
Yes,
Did you review that recording as well around the time of the crash?
yes,
And you provided a copy of that to law enforcement as well?
I did.
At this time, Judge, the people are moved to admit exhibits 1 and 2, that is the cell phone recording and the home surveillance video recording of Mr. Schmidt.
Response.
I received a complaint. He said they wanted to stipulate to a report. I don't know what, I mean, I.
Are you gonna play him?
I could proffer him, Judge. Yes, I was intending to anyway.
Okay.
Okay.
I was gonna just hold off for that judge until they play the identifier.
Please play exhibit 1.
See, okay.
Mr. Schmidt, that is your home surveillance camera?
Yes, it is.
All right. People would again move to admit exhibit 1, Judge.
No, People's one is admitted.
Provide a copy of that to the court. Please play exhibit 2. Mr. Schmidt, is that the cell phone video you referred to?
Yes.
People move to admit Exhibit 2.
No objection. Pledge 2 is admitted.
Mr. Schmidt, do you see Marshella in the courtroom today?
I do.
Can you please point to her and describe what she's wearing?
She's right there.
The record should reflect the defendant, or I'm sorry, the witness identified the defendant.
I have no further questions.
Cross? I don't have any questions. All right. May this witness be excused?
Yes.
Totally excused.
For the people, Judge, yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Next witness.
Judge, we'll call Jason Johnson.
She's lucky she made it out of that building alive. All those mom and daddies in there. I think the police more or less protected her more than anything when they got
You solemnly
there.
swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give in this matter before the court shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes. Sir.
Watch your step. Make sure that you
Sir, would you state your name and spell your last name, please?
Jason Johnson, Johnsson.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Mr. Johnson.
Afternoon.
Mr. Johnson, could you tell the jury what your affiliation with the Swan Boat Club is?
Longtime member of Swan,
Okay. How long?
over 20 years.
Okay. Were you formerly in a leadership position at the
I
Swan
was.
Boat Club? What was the name of that position?
A rear Commodore.
So what does a Commodore and a rear Commodore do at the Swan Boat Club?
Commodore oversees the entire club. The rear manages the club itself.
The physical,
Maintenance, bar,
the physical building.
correct.
Are you familiar with the club itself and the surrounding area?
Yes, I am.
Are you a resident of the surrounding area?
I am.
How long have you lived there?
I believe 7 years now.
So this is an area right off of Lake Erie, is that correct?
Correct.
What is the nature of the neighborhood and the roads and things like that?
Country road, gravel, private, so it's maintained by the residents, and fish and wildlife.
Okay. What's your understanding of what the speed limit is on those roads?
County says it's 25, Fish and Wildlife says it's 15.
Okay. How is it to drive on those roads?
It's a little rough.
Okay. Do you have to use care and caution?
Yes.
How fast would you say it's safe to drive on those roads?
Under 20 for sure.
In your position as rear Commodore and then just as a member of the Swan Boat Club, are you familiar with the security system at the club?
Yes, I am.
And just explain to the jury kind of what the club has as security system goes.
We have several cameras. I believe there's 9 operational. Different views of the club, inside and out,
Okay,
including the lake.
is that continuous recording or motion activated?
Continuous.
And is there a camera that faces, suppose it would be west into the parking lot?
Yes,
And that's mounted on what members call the pavilion or the event space?
correct.
And is there a camera within the pavilion, within the event space?
Yes, above the bar space.
Okay, and is that point the opposite direction of the camera in the parking lot?
Correct.
So to the east?
Correct.
And then the hall east of the event space, what we've heard referred to as the breezeway, is there a camera there?
Yes,
And which way does that camera face?
same way as the bar camera.
So does this look familiar to you, Mr. Johnson?
Yes, it's overhead view of the boat club.
Okay. And is that a fair and accurate representation of the boat club from overhead?
Yes.
And this is marked People's Exhibit 9A. People would move for admission.
There's final objection. 9A is admitted.
Do we have this in the PowerPoint? You able to see this at all from
Yes.
there? So would it be fair to say that the camera in the parking lot is positioned roughly there?
It's on that corner of that building right there.
Okay, and then where would the field of view from that camera be?
Pointing at the white SUV and at the fire truck.
So out this way.
Correct.
And then describe on this photo, if you could, where the cameras on the bar and the camera on the breezeway are.
The camera in the bar is right at the two different pieces of concrete, just inside.
Sure.
This is the camera from the outside. The inside camera is roughly about right here.
Okay.
The breezeway camera is roughly about right here.
Okay.
Both facing that direction.
Both of the interior cameras face this way.
Correct.
Were you present at the club on April 20th when this happened?
I was not present at the time of the accident, shortly after.
About what time did you arrive?
I believe it was under 20 minutes after the incident.
And did you do anything in regards to law enforcement's investigation that day?
Yeah, I had access to the cameras, so I got the detective in the room and got him into the system.
Okay, were you able to assist them in making recordings of the surveillance footage?
Yes.
And that system, that was in good working order on April 20th?
Correct.
And you were able to check it to make sure it was in good working order?
Correct.
And was the timestamp on it correct?
Yes.
Did you check that as you were making the copies?
Yes.
So Judge, at this time, people would move to admit people's 3A, B, and C, which are clips of surveillance video from the 3 cameras we've spoken about at the Swan Boat Club at the time of the crash.
Response, if I may, they haven't been shown yet, am I correct?
So the way I do an exhibit, and the way I've asked Mr. Marriott and Ms. Hatch to, is offer it, get it admitted, and then proffer it. Because if we proffer it and it's not admitted, the cat's kind of out of the bag.
Okay, but I don't know what it is that you're doing, but.
Just go ahead and show it this one.
Yeah.
Fair enough. We could play 3A.
If only she would have hit a car, you guys. Why couldn't she have hit a car or that pole right there? Amazing.
People move for the admission of 3A.
Response.
No, Judge.
3A is admitted.
People ask to publish 3B.
Go ahead.
Mr. Johnson, this is the interior of the event space.
Correct.
Judge, people move to admit 3B,
No objection. 3B is admitted.
and I would ask to publish 3C.
Go ahead.
So yeah, 40 miles per hour is what the car black box said. And I just, you guys, I just can't even imagine. I've seen this video before where they're in there trying to go between the door and the car, and I had no idea who they were going for until that girl testified. I think that's the uncle right there in the black sweatshirt. Oh, bless his heart. He feels helpless. Can you imagine how helpless a parent would feel not being able to get to their child? Oh, that's her right there laying on the ground, y'all. That's Chidester. Chidester, however you say her name. can't even walk. She's got on a thong. Are you kidding me? Oh my God, is that a child? That's not her laying down right there then? Oh God.
Judge, people move to admit 3C.
No, Judge, People's 3C is admitted.
Mr. Johnson, just to further orient the jury, the door that you could see in the foreground of that last video, could you explain what that is in relationship to the boat club itself and the event space?
It's a breezeway between the pavilion and the main bar, and it runs the same direction as that camera in the bar. The view, line of view is so down towards the main club.
All right. And so that's the main access to the pavilion or the event space.
Correct.
And the Swan Boat Club, located in Berlin Township, Newport, Michigan, state of Michigan?
Correct.
No further questions for this witness, Judge.
Cross.
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. Sir, you're in charge of maintaining the parking lot roadway.
Correct.
So when it's not in a good shape, you're the one responsible to take care of it.
Was it in good shape at the time?
When it's not in good shape, you're the one responsible to take care of it.
Correct.
Thank you. I don't have any other questions.
Any redirect?
Not on that issue.
May this witness be excused?
From the people, yes.
Thank you. You may
Thank you.
Next witness.
Judge, people will call Denise Roberts.
Okay. Thank you for correcting me, guys. That was not her. That was somebody else. She was on a chair. I thought that, like, she had a green jacket or something on, didn't she? Okay. Yeah, because she was brought out the other side.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give in this matter before the court shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Ma'am, right this way. Watch your step. Okay. Make sure the chair doesn't roll on the floor.
Okay, thank you.
Would you state your full name and then spell your last name for us, please?
Denise Roberts, Roberts.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Judge. Ms. Roberts, are you familiar with the Swan Boat Club?
Yes, I am.
And were you actually there on April 20th of 2024?
Yes, I was.
Why were you at the Swan Boat Club on that day?
For my great nephew's 3rd birthday party, Stenson.
Stenson, that is.
Stetson.
And so your niece is
Kristen.
Kristen Sigler.
Yes.
Okay. And that is her son.
Yes, it is.
Approximately what time did you arrive at the party on that day?
1 o'clock.
Can you please, for the jury, explain or describe the party prior to the crash?
It was set up as a circus party. You thought you were walking into a live circus. She had a popcorn machine set up for the kids. She had cotton candy, all kinds of little cups to put candy and stuff in, make their own little candy baskets. She had games and activities for the kids. She had a bouncy house. She had a face painter, a stilt walker, a balloon maker. She also had girls doing big bubbles for them. And she had food set up for them for like walking tacos and hot dogs, like on a rolling machine to keep them warm. She had decorations on the ceiling.
Were there a lot of people at this party?
Yeah, I would say approximately 50 or 60 people.
What percentage do you think were children?
Oh, probably
25, 30, I think, right around there.
And do you, what do you remember from the crash?
I was standing there talking to my sister-in-law, and all of a sudden I heard a loud boom. And all I remember saying is, WTF.
And do you think you lost consciousness?
Yes.
What do you remember when you came to?
I remember hearing a voice behind me saying, let's set her up in the chair. I couldn't at first recognize the voice, but then it started coming to me, and it was my nephew. And my ears and my focus started coming in, and my husband had my arms, and he was helping my nephew set me up. And I said, do not put me in the chair. Let me sit here on the floor because my back hurts too bad.
And were you injured on that day?
Yes, I was.
Do you know what injuries you incurred?
I incurred 4 fractured ribs, 2 fractured scapulas, which are your shoulder blades. I had a slight concussion, PTSD, anxiety, and I'm having problems right now with my neck from it. And I'm supposed to get an injection, a second injection in my C5, C6, and see if that helps. Otherwise, my doctor wants to do a 3-level fusion in my neck.
Did you know the defendant prior to that day?
No, I did not.
Did you speak with the defendant on that day?
They set her in a chair when they got her out of the car, and they set her in a chair next to me, and she said a couple of times, what happened? I passed out. And one of my nephews yelled, shut the F up, you lying bitch, you're drunk.
No further questions, Judge.
Cross.
You never met my client before that day, am I correct?
Correct.
And, you don't know what type of medical, physical, neurological conditions she had prior to that date, am I correct?
Excuse me, I can't hear you.
Oh, I apologize, let me move a little closer. You don't know any type of neurological condition that she was being treated for prior to that day, am I correct?
You're correct.
And you're very upset with the injuries that occurred. Would you agree?
With my injuries?
Sure.
Yes, I am. I've been being treated for 10 and a half months for them.
There's no question before you, but I have no other questions.
Can you redirect?
No redirect, Your Honor.
May this witness be excused.
People, as far as people are suggesting.
All right, thank you. May stand. Next witness.
Judge, people will call Patricia Ratz.
I love strong, angry women. He's like, okay, yeah, no, I'm good. I don't have any more questions. Can we please get her off the stand?
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this matter before the court shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
Ma'am, right this way. Watch your steps. Make sure the chair doesn't roll off of you, okay?
Miss, if you would state your full name and then spell your last name for us.
My name is Patricia Rath, and it's R-A-T-H-S.
Thank you.
Thank you, Judge. Good afternoon, Mrs. Rath. Are you a member of the Swan Boat Club?
No,
Have you ever been to the Swan Boat Club?
only on that day.
Okay, when you're referring to that day, are you referring to April 20th, 2024?
Yes,
Why were you at the Swan Boat Club that day?
it was my great-nephew's 3rd birthday party,
And who's your great nephew?
Stetson Moldkowski.
And then how is he related to you?
His mother, Tweety, is my niece,
And what is Tweety's real name?
Kristen Sigmund.
All right, thank you. Can you describe the Stetson's birthday party for us?
Oh, when we got there and we walked in, it was just magical. It was beautiful. It was like a 3-ring circus. It was all set up. There were tables when we first walked through the door, and then at the other end of the building, she had a bubble lady and hula hoops, and against the back wall, they had games where the kids could play the games and win prizes. She had a face painter over in the corner, and then they had a bunch of things where the kids could take pictures, like stick their head through the thing and get pictures. And I got there kind of early, and as the kids came in, they were just having a blast, running around. And then outside there was a big bounce house for the kids too. And it was a good day. It was the kids were having a great time.
You mentioned you got there early. Do you recall what time you got there?
No.
Okay. Do you know how many people were there approximately, if you can recall?
I don't recall, but the room was full.
Okay.
The
And
tables were full.
were some of those attendees children?
Yes,
A good number of them?
many children.
At some point, did the party come to a stop?
Yes.
Okay. Can you tell me what you remember about that?
I heard an explosion, like a big boom, and I thought we'd been bombed. It was a loud noise. I didn't know what had happened. Apparently, I got hit in the head with something. I still have a dent in the top of my head. I was passed out. When I came to, I could hear my son saying, "Mom, Mom, are you okay?" He sounded like he was like a million miles away.
At some point, did you come to know what happened?
He got me up and put me in a chair, and it was all chaos. I mean, there was stuff everywhere, still floating, I guess, in the air. People were screaming, my kids, I'm hurt. It was just total chaos.
Ms. Rass, prior to April 20th of 2024, did you know Marshella Chidester?
No.
At some point during that incident, you mentioned you were put into a chair. Did you come into contact with Marshella Chidester?
Yes, they had set her down in a chair, like right by us, because when I was in the chair, my sister-in-law was on the floor right next to me, and she was in the chair on the other side of her. Before this even happened, my sister-in-law was standing at a table to my right. When I woke up on the floor, she was laying on the left side of me, on her back, and I was on my face. And when I came to, I thought I was blind. Everything was black. I couldn't see anything. And then I could gradually see some light, and then I could see some movement, figures, and then my vision did come back, and I could tell it was people, and I could see everything. It was very scary.
And you indicated, I believe it was your sister-in-law. Who is that?
Denise Roberts.
And you kind of mentioned it, but at some point, did you realize whether or not a bomb had gone off?
Eventually, I saw the car in the building.
And a car came through the wall, right?
Yes.
Okay. And at some point prior to the car coming through that wall, can you just clarify, where were you sitting in relation to where the car entered the building?
I was sitting at a table. I think there was another set of tables, like two sets of tables, two rows. I think there was another set of tables in front of us, and the car came through the wall right behind me. If she would have came 2 feet to the right, I wouldn't be sitting here today.
And not to jump back and forth, Ms. Ratz, but to take you back to a moment ago when you stated that the defendant was seated, it sounds like in a chair next to you. Is that right? Okay. And did you have any interaction with her when she was sitting next to you?
I didn't talk to her at all, but I can still hear it in my head. And she kept saying, "I passed out. I passed out." And then she would look at my sister-in-law and she'd say, are you hurt? And then she would go back to that scream, I passed out.
Did you have any direct interaction with her?
No, I never spoke to her.
Did you incur any injuries as a result of this incident?
In the beginning, I had bad headaches, nausea, ringing in my ears, blurry vision. When they took me to the hospital, I had a concussion. I've got a TBI. I now have PTSD, severe anxiety, panic attacks, but the biggest problem I have is my memory loss.
When you say TBI, what do you mean by that?
Traumatic brain injury.
That's all I have for you, Ms. Ratz. Thank you very much.
Cross-examine.
Thank you. Ma'am, did you ever meet my client prior to that day?
I can't hear you.
Did you ever meet my client prior to that day?
No, I didn't.
You don't know what her medical condition, neurological condition prior to that day? to be
I have
fair.
no idea.
All right, thank you. And how are you related to Tony?
Tony is my son that was at the party with me, and we had my grandson with us too, who's 7.
Okay. And do you know if Tony knows me at all?
Yes.
How does he know me?
I don't know. He just told me he knows you. I don't know.
Okay. I don't have any other questions.
Anything further?
Oh, did y'all catch
Ladies,
that?
Speak excused.
On the people's behalf, yes, Judge.
All right. Thank you, ma'am. You're excused.
Okay.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take our afternoon break.
Her son knows the defense attorney. So is he trying to throw something in there to kind of get the case kicked out? What is that called when that happens? Oh, the grandfather. Oh, no. That's who's up next, you guys, the grandfather. I can't imagine being there either. I probably would have been I would have done something I shouldn't have done. But I think everybody was focused on saving the baby.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Your next witness, Mr. O'Reilly.
Your Honor, people call Jason Wycliffe.
If they hadn't been focused on saving the babies, they would have all gone after her. It would have been a mob. Yeah, good point, Northwest. She didn't say anything against the defense. She said what she saw.
Swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give in this matter before the court shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes, I do. Sir. Watch your step.
Conflict of interest is the legal term for it?
You would state your name and spell your last name for us, please.
Jason Wickland, Wyckland.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Judge. Mr. Wycliffe, are you a member at the Swan Boat Club?
No, I'm not.
Have you been there before?
A couple times with family.
Were you there on April 20th of 2024?
Yes, I was.
Why did you go to the Swan Boat Club on that day?
It was grandson's party.
Your grandson's party?
Yeah.
Okay. And do you know about what time you would have arrived?
I think it was pretty early, so between 1 and 2 o'clock, it was around there.
Can you describe for the jury what the party was like prior to the crash?
Fun, happy, kids were laughing, playing, enjoying themselves.
Were there a lot of people present?
There was quite a few people there.
And what do you remember from the crash?
Just standing there, and then I heard a big explosion.
To your knowledge, did you lose consciousness?
No, I didn't.
Did you sustain any injuries on that day?
No, I didn't.
And after the crash, what did you see?
The dust cleared a little bit. I looked over to the right, and I seen the vehicle sitting inside the building.
So when the crash first occurred, you could not see very well?
It was kind of dusty. I was shocked
for
a second.
And what did you hear after the crash?
Lots of cries and screams.
What is the first thing you did after the dust cleared so you could see?
I started walking or running over to people, see if I can help them in any way.
And at some point, did you approach the vehicle that had crashed through the building?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Which side of the car did you approach on?
From the driver's side.
And was the car door closed when you approached? The driver's side door closed?
Someone was trying to get it open and couldn't, so I grabbed it and gave it a big yank, pulled it open.
It was harder to open than a normal car door?
Yeah.
And what did you see when you opened the car door?
I seen Marshella in the driver's seat there, fumbling around. I shut off the car and put it in gear.
So when you say you saw Marshella, was she awake?
Yes.
Okay. And did she say anything to you?
No, I was yelling for her to get out the car.
Okay. Was she doing anything?
Just trying to reach down in between the seat looking for something.
Did you notice anything about her? Anything else about her at that time?
Yeah, she was drunk.
Did you get Miss Chidester out of the car?
Yes, I did.
Was anybody else there at that time?
There was another person that was there. I can't remember who it was, but the one that helped me open the door, we walked her to the back of the vehicle.
Okay. And after you got Miss Chidester out of the car, what did you do next?
I heard a baby cry, and I looked underneath the vehicle, and I yelled for a jack. Couldn't find a jack, so I looked on the ground, and there was 2x4s, and there was a couple of us there. Grabbed the 2x4 and lifted the vehicle, and Tweety Christian climbed underneath the car and grabbed the baby out.
Did you know Marshella Chidester prior to this?
No, I didn't.
No further questions, Judge.
Cross.
Thank you, Judge. Are you sure, sir, that you helped my client out of the car and it wasn't Sean Ulrich?
I was there. I was there. Yes, I did grab her out of the car.
You did not?
Yes.
A gentleman by the name of Sean.
There was two
Ulrich.
of us.
Okay, so he was there too?
Yeah, we helped her out the car.
Okay. And do you know any of the medical history of my client neurologically?
No, I don't.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate your honesty. You knew that my client's vehicle went through the building and went in 25 feet approximately. Do you
Yes.
agree?
Yes.
Is that a yes?
Yes.
Okay. And my client, she didn't seem like she had it all together. Do you agree? Is that a yes or a no?
Give me a chance to answer.
Okay.
I really couldn't say that,
Okay. Would you agree that somebody goes through a building at whatever speed, 25 feet into the building, that somebody might not have all their faculties as if I enter a courtroom, walk in here?
Yeah, that's possible.
Oh, it's possible? Okay. All right, thank you. I don't have any other questions.
Any redirect?
Briefly, Judge, thank you. Mr. Wickland, you testified that you believe the defendant was drunk when you got out of the car. What led you to believe that?
When I reached in the vehicle and shut the car off, I could smell alcohol on her.
And when you say you shut the car off, so when you opened the door, the car was still on.
Yes.
Do you know if the car was still in drive?
Yes.
Okay, no further questions, Judge.
May I have a follow-up, Your Honor? Sir, their party, this party that was going on, there were a lot of people there?
Yes, there was.
Okay, a lot of adults?
Adults and kids.
Kids and adults?
Yes.
Okay, was there any drinking going on there? Alcoholic drinking?
There was a couple people. That was about
Only
it.
2 people out of all those people were
There was
drinking?
a few. I didn't really pay attention to all that. Who
Okay.
was?
Did the bartender seem like she was busy? Or did you not pay attention?
I didn't pay attention. I was in and outside.
And when the car went in, did everything get all tossed everywhere? Tables, plates, cups?
Yeah, but she was
Did
in
that
the
all
car.
get tossed? Was there a total mess? We
It
saw
was-
some videos earlier. Was it a
Yes.
total mess?
Yes, it was.
Okay, right. No other questions?
Yeah, but she was in the car.
Follow up
So
on
it
that?
didn't get it.
This witness be excused.
Yes, Judge.
Thank you.
It didn't get spilled
Next
on
witness.
her from
Judge, we're
outside
gonna
the
call
party
Sergeant Michael
room.
Pomia.
But nice try, Mr. Defense Attorney. I mean, he's trying. I guess that's what he's supposed to do. Okay, now we got our first officer on the scene. Well, our first officer on the stand.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this matter before the court shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do. Sir.
Sergeant, would you state your full name and spell your last name for us, please?
My name is Sergeant Michael Bomia, Michaelbomia.
Thank you. Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Judge. Sergeant, how are you employed?
I'm a police officer with the Mineral County Sheriff's Office
How long have you been in that position?
for 20 years, sir.
Did you have prior law enforcement experience?
No, sir.
Your entire career has been with the Mineral County Sheriff's Office.
Yes, sir.
Do you hold all of the training, education, certification necessary to be a peace officer in the state of Michigan?
Yes, I do.
And were those up to date on April 20th of 2024?
Yes, they were.
Were you working on April 20th of 2024?
Yes, I was.
What was your assignment on that date, if you recall?
I was the Days B shift supervisor.
Can you explain to the jury what days B shift supervisor means?
Our road patrol is broken up into 4 platoons, 2 days and 2 nights. There's an A platoon, a B platoon, both for the day shift and the night shift.
And so as the supervisor, it's your role to manage.
To supervise all the deputies that work the road on that given shift.
And what is road patrol?
We are the division of the sheriff's office that responds to calls for service. If you call 911 or if there's a traffic crash, you're a victim of a larceny, we're the ones that come to your home and respond to your call for service.
And in your role as supervisor, are you on the road in the squad car? Are you behind a desk?
Occasionally, I have some administrative paperwork to handle, but the majority of my shift is spent in a patrol car going from call to help other deputies out.
And were you dispatched to Swan Boat Club on April 20th, 24?
Yes, I was.
And do you recall what that dispatch was?
Dispatch relayed that a car had just crashed into a building at the Swan Boat Club. They said it was a dark colored SUV, and then several people were injured and or trapped underneath the vehicle.
How did you respond to that dispatch call?
I was in the area of North Dixie Highway and I-75. I responded down North Dixie Highway to Trombley, Blanchett. I don't know exactly all the roads, but the most direct route.
And do you know approximately what time you would have arrived on scene?
It was approximately 3:15.
So about 3:15 in the afternoon?
Yes, sir.
Okay. What did you observe when you arrived at the Swan Boat Club?
When I arrived at the boat club, there was several people laying on the ground in need of medical help. There was also a large hole inside of the building at the Swan Boat Club.
To your knowledge, were you the first law enforcement officer on scene?
Yes, sir.
And were there other first responders when you had arrived?
Just before my arrival, several firefighters had arrived on scene to help provide medical care.
And at some point, did you enter the boat club?
Yes, I did, sir.
How did you enter the boat club?
I entered through the hole in the side of the building.
This is the hole that the car created.
Yes, sir.
What did you see when you entered the boat club?
I observed more people either laying on the ground or in need of medical care. There also was a dark colored Ford Edge that had that was in the northeast side of the building.
Was anybody in the vehicle when you arrived?
No, sir.
And did you interact with the defendant at some point?
Yes, I did, sir.
How did you come to interact with the defendant on that day?
I asked several witnesses around if where the driver was at, and they pointed to the driver who was sitting in a folding chair in the building.
And at some point did the defendant identify herself as the driver to you?
Yes, sir.
And do you see that person in the courtroom today who identified herself as the driver?
Stipulate. Record should reflect the witness has identified the defendant.
What did you do next, Sergeant?
I assisted the driver to her feet, and then we walked out to my patrol car.
And while you were walking out to the patrol car, did you have any interaction with the defendant?
Yes, I did, sir.
Okay. And at your patrol car, what did you do then?
On the way to the patrol car, I asked her several questions. I asked if she was injured or if she needed any medical help. Before I put her in the back of my patrol car, I asked her again if she needed any medical assistance. She said no. I asked her name. She identified herself by name. And then I secured her in the back of my patrol car.
And are you issued a body worn, what is referred to commonly as a body worn camera?
Yes, sir.
Or a body cam? And were you wearing it on that day?
Yes, sir.
And was it functional and operating properly on that day?
Yes, sir.
Have you had an opportunity to review the footage from your body worn camera?
Yes, I have.
Is it a fair and accurate depiction of what you saw on that day?
Yes, it was.
All right, Judge. I don't know how the court wants to do this. We are going to move.
Apparently counsel is okay with showing it before it gets moved for admission.
Okay, so I will request to present that to the jury.
What is the number?
This is a proposed People's Exhibit 4, Sergeant Gomia's body cam.
All right.
They're on their way. Which one? Can you come over this for a second? Are you driving? Are you driving the car? Can you come over this for a second? This one out here? What happened? I passed out. Okay. Have you been feeling ill or anything like that? Yes. What kind of medical conditions do you have? Seizures. Seizures? Okay. Were you here for the party? No. What were you out here at the boat club for? Are you
Yeah, I was just coming down here.
Okay.
Oh my God, I just
So you take medications for seizures, you said? Have you been drinking it over there?
a little bit, yes.
Okay. When's the last time you had something to drink?
Probably half hour ago.
Half an hour ago, what did you drink?
Wine.
Wine, okay. What's your name?
Marshella.
Marshella what?
Chidester.
Chidester, okay. You don't have any weapons on you, do you?
No.
All right, I'm just gonna leave you back here just for a little bit, okay?
Okay.
All right. Do you need to see any medical attention right now? Okay. I'm gonna roll down this window over here and just get you some air, okay? Okay. Sergeant, is the time and date stamp correct on that video?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Judge, I would again move to admit People's Proposed Exhibit 4.
People's 4 is admitted.
Sergeant, did you have any other interactions with the defendant on that day?
No, sir.
No further questions, Judge.
Cross. Thank you. May this witness be excused?
Yes, Judge.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Next witness.
At this time, the people will call Detective Madison Fleck.
He mentioned about her wobbling, and that's the way she normally walks, but I question that.
I do.
Detective, if you would state your full name and then spell your last name for us, please.
My name is Madison Fleck, M-A-D-I-S-O-N, last name Fleck, F-L-E-C-K.
Thank you, Judge. Detective, are you currently employed?
Yes,
Where are you employed?
the Monroe County Sheriff's Office.
And what do you do there?
Currently, I'm a detective assigned to the property and evidence room. Previous to and during this call, I was a road patrol deputy.
And you said, are you referring to April 20th, 2024?
Yes.
And what training, if any, did you receive in order to be a road deputy as of April 20th, 2024?
I had an associate's degree in criminal justice as well as the basic police academy.
Prior to April 20th of 2024, approximately how long had you been a road deputy?
I think it was about 3 years.
You said 3 years? And prior to this, did you have any law enforcement experience?
No.
And are you currently in good standing with the state of Michigan?
Yes.
Okay, and you have all the requisite training to be a peace officer in the state of Michigan, right?
Yes.
You indicated that on April 20th of 2024, you were a road deputy. Obviously, you were working on that date.
Correct.
And at some point, did you get called to the Swan Boat Club?
I heard the call on the radio from dispatch and decided to respond.
Okay, and what did you hear on dispatch, if you can recall?
That there was a vehicle crash at the Swan Creek Boat Club and that there were subjects pinned underneath the vehicle.
Okay. And did you end up responding there?
Yes.
What time did you respond to the scene, if you can recall?
Around 15, 16 hours, maybe a little bit later than that. It was definitely after Sergeant Gomia and Deputy Schmidt.
And for those of us who are not familiar with military time, what is 15, 16 hours?
3:16 p.m.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear it.
3:16.
Upon your arrival, what did you observe?
It was chaos. It was apparent that a vehicle had driven through the building. There's multiple first responders giving aid to people that were injured during the crash. Chaos, loved ones trying to find the victims.
Did you respond to assist any particular individuals?
Yes, I did.
Okay, and at some point, did you learn who those individuals were?
Yes, I did.
Okay, and who did you directly respond to?
I believe it was Diane Medina, Denise Roberts, another subject, I believe her first name's Leah, and anybody else that was in that room that needed immediate attention.
In regard to Miss Medina, do you recall what was her demeanor or what was her positioning when you arrived and when you approached her?
She was on the ground near the bar. She was complaining of hip pain, possibly thought she had broke something in her back.
And in regard to Miss Stith, Leah Stith, where was she and what was her demeanor?
She was also near the bar. She was in, I think, too much pain to respond to questions. And she appeared to be suffering from back injuries as well.
Okay. And you also mentioned Miss Denise Roberts, correct?
Yes.
What interaction did you have with her?
She was sitting up in a chair and complaining, I think, of head pain. Advised she was at the table closest to where the car impacted the building.
On April 20th, 2024, were you issued what's commonly referred to as a body-worn camera?
Yes.
Are you aware, was it in working order on that date and time?
Yes.
And have you had the opportunity to review the footage from your body-worn camera on that date and time?
Most of it.
I'm sorry?
Most of it.
Most of it? Okay. And the portion that you did review, did that accurately depict what you, fair and accurate representation of what you observed on that day?
Yes.
Judge, I'm going to proffer for the court what is marked as People's Exhibit 5. If I may just go ahead and play that, Judge?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Deputy, I'm going to direct to the screen.
This gentleman, check him out. Yeah, this gentleman is on the floor. He's got talking about. I just got one projector back there. I don't even know. She's 18. Yeah, I still live.
Is there anybody? I got these things in Jerusalem, and we start looking at getting their information and prison all over. Nope, just try to stay out of the way of everybody and help where you can. She's allergic to molasses. Are you really? Yeah, we I think they want to leave her for right now, just because it should. Just in case. All right. Ma'am, were you in here when it happened? No, did you witness it at all? Medina? Yeah. Is it hurt pretty much everywhere right now? Okay. Just try to take some deep breaths, okay? As deep breaths as you can. Yeah. As deep breaths as you can. Well, they're hitting this guy, and then you're right here coming up next. Okay.
So they cut the sound. So you think it was a total of over 15 people were injured? 5 to 6 were critically injured.
They got to get her, and then these go right in front. So we're kind of we need help back there. Sir, anybody take information yet?
No.
Were you looking to the back?
I was in the bar, I just heard it came in, so I came up, but I didn't see what actually happened.
Okay. Almost to start getting off.
Deputy, you indicated that you watched most of your body cam. What was one of your roles during your time at this scene to obtain personal information?
Yeah, I wanted to make myself useful.
Okay, and I likely noticed, there were portions of audio that were missing through this body cam. Is that correct?
Yes.
And That was because of private information of the individuals you were interviewing, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Your audio was working on your body-worn camera, correct?
Yes.
Okay. But based off what we just saw here, Detective, I'm sorry, I keep calling you Deputy. Detective, was this a fair and accurate representation of what you saw on that date and time?
Yes.
And if you look up in the right-hand corner, if you can see, and based off your review of the video, to your knowledge, the date and time stamp on the video are correct, right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have, Judge. Oh, I'm so sorry, Judge. I do have to admit, people.
Response? Okay. People's 5 is admitted. Cross? No cross. Thank you. You may be excused. Next witness?
Judge, at this time, that was People's 8th witness for the afternoon. We only had 6 booked. We managed to get 2 more here. We don't have any other witnesses that we're ready to present right now.
All right. Okay. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to call it a day. It's been a long day anyway, so I'm sure nobody's really sad about this, except me, because I want to get things going. But nonetheless, we're going to break for the evening.
Oh, wow. They cut that off quick. Okay. So that was it for the day. And then we're going to pick it back up live. We'll be at the live feed tomorrow morning. I'm going to come open up at 6:45 a.m. because I think they start around 7 a.m. my time. That's Central Time. And then that would be 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Pattie, did you want to come up? Did you have any thoughts while you were watching this? You want to come up and say anything? And also, if you guys have any questions, Pattie was there this morning during the jury selection. Thank you, Laura. Yeah, so they're saying 15 other people were injured other than the 2 children, the 2 siblings that passed away. She faces 2 counts of second-degree red rum, 2 counts of operating while intoxicated causing death, and 4 counts of operating while intoxicated causing serious injury. Now, remember, she has already confessed to the fact that she had drank. It was on the body cam. Obviously, they just, I don't know, did they show that part? They did, right? No, they haven't showed it yet, have they? Not to the jury. But it is going to be allowed. Judge wouldn't allow that to be inadmissible. He also, another thing that's interesting about this case is the judge is allowing all of the witnesses who are going to be called to the stand, he's allowing them to sit on the courtroom for the entire trial, before and after they testify, which is uncommon because usually they don't let them up before they testify, or they don't let them sit in before they testify. Oh, you know somebody, Ashley always from the area, and she said she knows somebody that has a nephew that works for the EMT, and he's still not okay after what he witnessed that day. Also, you had mentioned that you know the tavern owner, and Verna's Tavern was the place that she had gone to for lunch, and that she said that they said she had a drink there. I think she had like 1 drink there with lunch. Then she leaves, goes back home, and we think got completely sloshed. That's when she backs out of her driveway, hits the neighbor's car, and then darts forward. And then we know that after she darted forward, she hit the Swan Boat Club. So the fact that she backed up, hit another vehicle, had the wherewithal to put her car back into drive, and then go forward takes away that whole seizure thing to me. No way. No way that's possible. Am I right? Am I right? I want to thank Laura for gifting memberships earlier today. Thank you so much for that. Also, thank you, Mark, for your super chat. I appreciate you so much. Pattie, do you 7:45 a.m. Eastern Standard Time? Did I need to put the link in? Do you want to come back up, Pattie? Let's get Pattie up here. Here, I'm going to put the link up, Pattie, for you in the stream. This is for Pattie to come up. Ashley, if you want to hang out, you can come up after Pattie. I'll bring Miss Laura on too.
Yes, I'm back. Pattie's trying.
She's trying. She's getting used to it.
It's not as easy as you think.
I know. I couldn't even figure it out. That's why I had to text you to say, how does she get on? Northwest, I know it's so early. Oh my gosh.
I'm here.
I'm a
Hello,
night
Pattie.
owl. I'm a night owl. So getting up that early tomorrow, I'm going to sound pretty rough. I'm going to just go ahead and warn you all. All right, Pattie. So you were there this morning. Did after watching today, after watching what we've seen of the trial so far today, did anything jump out at you that you saw in jury selections or that you saw this morning that you wanted to talk about?
Nothing else came to mind because I didn't see any of what we watched. So no, nothing really other than I answered a couple questions about the building, but that's about it. Why there's stairs inside the building and
Yeah, it's a very old courthouse, huh?
it's a what?
It's a very old courthouse, huh?
Very old. 1880 it was built. Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like everything in that area kind of reminds me of, I don't know why. It kind of reminds me of Cape Cod area.
Downtown's very pretty.
Yeah.
It's very old. A lot of everything's very old downtown. Yeah.
Northwest said, "Thank you, Pattie, for your on the ground reporting."
I know it wasn't much, but it was an interesting experience being there.
Oh, I'm gonna behave.
I know I'm wanting to say stuff. I want to say things like you guys. We're just gonna have to bite our tongues because I know what you mean. This trial is gonna make us so angry, and we're gonna have to just be careful what we type.
Yeah, I'm not impressed with her attorney, especially with his cross-examination questions. They're dumb.
I mean, what does he have to work with? He has nothing.
Right.
Absolutely nothing. I mean, and I'm not trying to defend him. I'm just saying if I was in his place, which I would have a hard time. Not many people would have taken this case, but it was a bunch of money, right? Bunch of money involved. Which I wanted to make a comment, you guys. I think it was Barry. It was either Barry or Irish that said this. Hang on, I put a thing on it. It was Barry. He goes $250K that she paid.
Isn't that just for the down payment for the retainer, or is that for the entire thing?
Yeah, for the retainer for the attorney. He said she could have paid hospital bills to help these people out who she injured. Right. Instead, it bought her a year to drink on an ankle monitor because she's the victim. I will say this though, that they brought up in the last hearing that they had right before the trial started that they caught that she had been drinking because she's got this tether on her monitor that tells whether or not she has blood alcohol.
They were going to test her to see if that's what it was because of the swelling in her ankles. So we haven't heard back whether or not, because her attorney did say that she had to be tested for that, but we haven't heard back the report on that. I'm thinking that might come up during the trial. I don't know.
Yes. So they can't say that she definitely was, but there was like a two times a 12-hour period of time where she did not have the monitor on, and she says that it wasn't transponding, and she claimed that it was because she was having leg swelling or something.
Yeah, that her legs were swollen, but then when the swelling went down, it wasn't registering for those like 12 hours or whatever. That's a crack. Yeah. They have to, those leg monitors have to allow for that. I would think.
Yeah, come on. I mean, it's like they reach for everything they say in this trial from the
yeah, he's throwing all that spaghetti at the wall, isn't he?
Bama, thank you for the reminder. I can't believe it's already we're ready for the time change on Sunday morning.
I am not going to go back to court. It's a little bit too much for me. I have to walk quite a ways to get into the building, then up 3 flights of stairs, and then it wouldn't be so bad if I could sit comfortably to leave again, but it's so uncomfortable there. So uncomfortable. I mean, I have very deteriorated hips. And so the pain, it was pretty bad when it took me like 3 times to even stand up. And then I had to walk that distance back to my car. So it's too much.
I want to see her walking before she was drinking, but I don't know if we'll ever get anything really sure of that. She could be drinking, going to court each day. If
Who
if she's
knows?
that much of an alcoholic.
I know that she walked in front of me, from the door to my right, all the way over to the left to where she was sitting. Because you saw where the angle where I was sitting, where I took the picture, and she's way over to the left of that picture is where she's sitting. And she did not have assistance. I mean, her attorney was walking by her, but he wasn't holding on to her, and she walked perfectly normal.
No
She was
wobbling like
not stumbling, wobbling, nothing. She walked like a normal person. She wasn't walking brisk or fast, but she was walking normal.
right. So I just think that I don't know if the juror is going to be able, or the jury is going to be able to see any of her walking around. But if she gets called up to the stand, they will. But if
Yeah.
she gets called up to the stand in front of the jury, I can bet you money she's going to put on a show.
Oh, probably, because she was already seated when the jury and the potential jurors even came in.
Yeah.
She'd been sitting there for quite a while with her attorney before. I mean, some of them probably were in there because I was in there early, but and then they were escorted out before any of us left. The jurors were. So
Yeah.
they probably didn't see her walk in.
So you said that you saw one of the victim's family members, but you didn't. That was the only people you saw while you were there.
Well, there probably were others, but he's the only one I really recognized from the news brief. I don't know I can't remember if it was the night of or the day after. It was the uncle of the children.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's the only one I recognized.
Okay. All right. Well, Lori, you got any questions?
No.
Anybody else have any questions for Miss Pattie?
I
You
just
guys are just.
appreciate her going there and trying for us.
I know
What's
she's
that?
been in.
I said I just appreciate that you went there and you tried for us.
Oh yeah. Oh
I
yeah. And it
wanted-
was an experience I'd never had before. And if, like I said, if the seats were better and if I didn't have to walk so far just to even get into the court, because there is a parking lot right there at the courthouse, but it's only you can only park there for 2 hours at a time, and they monitor and they will ticket you or they will tow your car. You cannot. You have to park like 3-4 blocks away.
I can. Yeah, because it's such a little small town.
Yeah, and it's city parking. I mean, and there's and that's in a lot, which is free, and then there's curbside parking, but it's limited to I think it's 2 hours and they're metered. So I mean, who wants to go to 8 hour court and have to keep running out every couple hours to either move your car or put money in?
Yeah.
So, and
Yeah, that would
unfortunately, like that, if I could have parked right in that lot, that would have been, a big plus, but you can't.
Drive me crazy. In Tampa, they had that to where when you park somewhere like that, they had the app, which was great because it would give you a little thing that says your thing's fixed to expire. Do you want to pay more money? And you could do it on your phone. So much
Well, that's
better.
nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
But that parking lot, it's free as well. But I think that's really more for people like who are going in to pay a ticket or, they're just going in for quick things. They're not for people who are going to sit and watch or be a part of an all-day trial.
Yeah, exactly.
That's why, because the girl even told me, because I was asking her about it. She works at the courthouse. When we were walking in, I had asked her if I could have parked there, and she said, "Oh no, not for this." She says, "And believe you me, they monitor this parking lot too." And I'm like,
yeah.
"Well, I don't need no ticket."
Well, I know
Because
that
I'm like Marshella. Honestly, I have to proudly say I've been driving since I was almost 17. I was actually the youngest in my family to get my license, and I'll be 66 in April, and I've never gotten a ticket ever.
Well, I know that I was surprised that the trial started today. Were you surprised?
That it started today?
Yeah, that the jury selection was done so quickly. I mean, the jury selection was done before lunch.
Yeah, I didn't expect it to be that quick. But then once, especially after watching him, like, kicking one out after another this morning, it was like every time we turned around, the judges say, "Do you have, for cause or for, what's the other word? Not cause, but
conflict,
preemptive."
Yeah.
And he
Okay.
had one every time. I'm like, prosecution only had, I think, 3 or 4 total. And the judge threw out the one that, not threw out, but dismissed the one that was crying.
Yeah, that is crazy fast selection.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever seen it go that fast before.
Yeah.
Especially, and to me too, I thought this is going to take a bit because
High
people are,
profile.
because everybody knows everybody in the town. And you had
Yeah.
said earlier that there was one person that is actually on the jury who knows both the defendant and the witnesses
And victims, yeah.
and victims.
Yep.
Mm. Mm-mm-mm.
And he said, she said she could be impartial. She said because prosecution, she goes, are witnesses, not witnesses, but victims. And she even said Marshella. She goes, Marshella deserves a fair trial. And I'm like, wow, I was so surprised.
Yeah, that's yeah. Well, and we figured how many people you said 75 you thought that they brought
I'm
in.
guessing maybe between 70 and 75 all total.
Yeah. Which is a lot.
Because I'm trying to picture how many went out when he said, okay, the jury's seated and all those people were dismissed and they have to just call in for like the 16th and the 23rd for the next trials. And then there's 14 in the sitting in the thing. So,
Yeah.
and plus all the ones that had been booted out. When you're talking, if he did 14 or 15 and the prosecution did 4 and the judge did 1 or 2, that's like another 20.
Yeah, that's
So,
true. So what do y'all think about the judge? Because I'm liking him. I think he's going to speed this trial along. I don't think there's going to be a whole lot of wasting time. I mean, he
No.
seems almost to the point to where it's like he's rushing. He's rushing everybody.
Yeah, he's a no nonsense judge, and but he's funny. I mean, because there was a couple times this morning that I couldn't hear what the juror had said something. I guess it was like funny or in response, and he laughed and even like made a joke back. And I thought, and I was like, dang it, I couldn't hear because I was way in the back. I couldn't, microphones weren't picking up everything, and the jurors weren't always speaking very loudly. They were speaking loud enough, like for the ones asking the questions, but not necessarily for us way in the back to hear.
Yeah.
And it was the one funny thing right before they were going out for lunch. The one girl which I didn't even realize that monitor was there until later, which I'm glad. So there's the big screen, but then there's a monitor right there in front of the jurors. And she said, if you could lower that monitor a little bit, she said, Your Honor, I could see your whole head. And he laughed. He thought that was the funniest thing. He said, I don't have any control over that monitor. Because she's like, she can only see the top of his head.
Now we did confirm because at first we thought the only monitor in the courtroom was way over to the other side, away from the jury, the other side of the room. But we did confirm they've got one way closer to the jury as well. So that was good because there's a lot of footage to show in this trial.
Yes.
And remember, the jury has yet to see the footage of her walking out of her home,
right,
getting into her car and backing up to the neighbor's car. So
exactly.
See, I always thought that when she backed up and she hit the truck, I don't know why I thought this, but when she backed up and hit the truck and she took off, I thought she was headed to Verna's at that point.
No,
but
she was headed straight to the Swan Club. Yeah.
So she went to Verna's, had lunch, had a drink, came back home, got sloshed, and then left.
Because she left Verna's around 12-ish, 12:15, and this happened around 3 p.m. And I heard through the grapevine, I don't know if it's true, that she was at a friend's between that time drinking. But she could have went home and drank. Because doggone well, if she only had, and Verna showed the receipt. They showed the receipt. She only had wine with her chili. And I don't even think her whole wine glass was empty. So I personally don't believe they should be included in a lawsuit. And I felt that from day one. I thought, they're a restaurant. They serve her one glass of wine with her food.
Deep pocket.
3 hours later, she's sloshed and runs into a building. Why is Verna's being held responsible? They shouldn't be.
That's an attorney going after the deepest pockets.
Exactly.
That's all that is.
Yep. I hope it gets thrown out. I hope that one gets thrown out.
It could. It sounds like she does. It sounds like she does all her drinking at home and at the boat club.
Yeah, I would imagine.
So
that's why she never has any drunk driving charges against her before this, because she probably always walked.
Yeah. Well,
Ashley even mentioned in the comments the post tonight that her husband bought that house for her close to the boat club so that she wouldn't have to drive drunk. She could walk.
I want an overview of the Google map. I could pull it up tonight, I guess. I want an overview of the Swan Boat Club and where her house is at, but I wouldn't know which one is her house because I'd have to look at the other video to see what it looked like. I'm pulling up Google Map now.
Yeah, because you can pull up how far it is from Vernus to the boat club too. It's not very far. I go past Vernus like several times a week.
So let me show you guys this really quick. Let me get
Because like I go to that Kroger out there. My girlfriend, my bestie lives in Detroit Beach, which is just down the road a ways, and Monica's Bakery's out there, and they have good apple fritters.
Oh God, I love apple fritters.
I
Okay,
know.
so she was coming from. Wait, which way was she coming from, you guys? Because here's the boat club, but where's the building that she hit? The building that she hit is right here, right here. So she was coming from this way.
She was coming
I'm
from her house,
confused.
not Vernus, though.
No, but she was coming
Yeah.
from this way. I think this one or this one is her house. Wait, I think this one's her house. Is she?
She's
That
only
she was that
400.
close?
She's like 400 yards or 400 feet, something like that. She's real close.
Because I remember there being like a building right there, and then she backs up and hits the truck over here, and then goes
Yep.
forward.
Yep.
And then wait, is the
Zooms
boat
right
club
down that road.
Is this the building? I want to. I feel like the building she hit at the boat club wasn't on the water like this, though.
It's not. It's your arrow's going to the right, isn't it? Isn't that where? I can't tell.
You can't tell.
Uh-uh.
It was like a building that's sitting out or something. Maybe this isn't a fully done video or fully done image. There's another building there.
I'll try to pull up. I'll try to pull up and see if I can find it, and I'll shoot it to you in an email or text.
There it is. Okay, that's it. That's it right there. Okay, so it was that street, you guys. It was right here. So let me go back out.
Yeah, that's what it looks like.
Yep.
So
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
So she
Yep.
should have been following this street, and instead of following the street, instead of turning, she goes straight like that. It just looked different. It really looked very
It
different
does
from
look
the other
different
angle.
there. Yeah. Yep.
So she would have been over here. What she should have done was she should have pulled into the parking lot and parked, and she didn't do it. If she'd have hit that pole or a car, you guys, none of this would have happened. But I think this is her house right here.
It was awful. It's just
That's where she should have
devastating.
crashed into. Should have crashed into her house instead of there.
Oh, thank you so much, Route. Route, you always spoil me so much. Thank you, honey. I appreciate that. Yeah, so
She should have
tomorrow
kept
they'll
backing up and went into the water. I shouldn't say that.
Well, I mean, honestly, I'm not trying to be mean or anything, but if somebody was going to get injured, and if it was just only her, I would much have preferred that.
Heck yeah.
But I think this is her driveway. She backs up, she hits the car over here, bang, and then she goes forward. And I still kind of am confused. I guess she turns and just doesn't turn that way. She turns straight and goes straight. Craziness. Absolute craziness.
She should
That's
have ended up in
devastating.
that water. It looks murky enough. She would have been.
Yeah,
better
that's
off.
kind of Lake Erie, though. And especially at that time of the year. It's not, the snow ice is melting, and it's kind of. I don't swim in Lake Erie. I mean, I've got friends that grew up in the beaches, and they grew up swimming in it, but I'm more of a pool girl.
I'm looking for her house. Hang on.
I mean, I would stand and put my feet in it. I've done that before, but not swim. Mm-mm.
Yeah, my daughter worked years at a camp, and every week they would go to Lake Michigan, and she's like, I can't stand going in that lake.
Yeah, it's just different, than ocean water, and it's just murky, and yeah, it's not my cup of tea. I'm much more of a pool. I want to see my feet.
Is this her
I want to
house?
see what's in there.
Is this her house? I remember it had like I remember seeing the front door and the steps, and I was thinking it was this one, but it can't be that one.
Wasn't the back door that she went out and down the sidewalk to get to her car? I think.
Was that what we saw?
Was it the back? I thought it was the back. Maybe I was looking at it the wrong way. I don't
Maybe
know.
I'm going too far down. It's not that house. It's not that house. It could be this one. But wait.
It's not that one. It's not that
Wait a-
big blue one.
Oh, wait. It could be this one right here. It's hard to see. I think it is this one. I think it's this one right here. It's just hard to see because of the building.
Yes.
Building.
Yes, it is. It's that one.
Yep. Okay, because I remember there being a building like right here, and then she
Yep,
backed
in
up
the
right
garage.
here
Yep, and she
and hit
turned and
it.
hit the truck. Yep, hit that truck. She backed up next to that garage thing right there and hit that truck.
So she's 1, 2, 3, 4 houses down from the club. Interesting.
Yep.
So if you go 1, 2, 3, 4, this is her right here. Okay, interesting. All right, well, I want to thank you guys for being on. Ashley, did you want to come in and talk a little bit, hon? I know you need some people over there. Sandra said greenhouse, greenhouse.
Well, thank you for having me.
Well, thank you for being here, Miss Pattie. It's fun to finally have you on and talk to you for the first time. I think this
I
is the first
know.
time we've talked.
I think so. Yeah, yeah.
Well,
For
thank you.
sure.
Thank you for all your hard work today. I know you didn't just do it for us, but one last question I've got for you.
What's that?
Throughout any of your experience this morning and going to the courthouse and all that, did you ever think to yourself, "Oh, I'm so glad I know more about court now, and I know more about this or that because I've been watching true crime"?
Oh, for sure. Oh, for
Yeah.
sure. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Especially with the jury selection process and like what the judge was reading, like the all the stuff about jury selection and what their duties were in there. I'm like, I already heard all this before. It's kind of cool. Yeah, it was really neat. Yeah. But it was still a first time experience for me to be there. But yeah, having watched true crime, that definitely helped. Yep. I felt like an expert.
Ashley wants to speak with you, so hang on. She's coming up. I just put the link in, Ashley. I hope you can figure out how to get on because I'm not good at.
Do you need me to back out, or are you going to have too many people?
No, 'cause I'm going to leave all 4 of us up on the screen.
Okay.
And I took off the image, so we should be good. Route, I can't believe how much you spoil me. You're just too much. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Between you and
Route's
Mark
amazing.
And Laura with your memberships today, y'all are just amazing. I guess JPC has her kids today. She's or the grandbabies today. We would have seen her.
Oh, yeah, probably. She gets them, I think, once a week, doesn't she?
Does she? I wasn't sure.
I don't know for sure either.
So again, we're going to be back on in the morning, early. I apologize. I
And I
wasn't here
already
live
told
for
my
this.
dog this morning I wasn't setting the alarm, but I have to.
You have to.
When I was telling him, I was not that he understands me not setting the alarm, but I talk to him like his person. I'm like, Mommy doesn't have to set the. You know what time I got up this morning to go? I was up at 5:30.
You were raring to go.
And I set the alarm for 5:30 because I didn't know. I knew court didn't open or didn't start till 8, but I wasn't sure exactly where I had to park. I wasn't sure what time they'd let us in the building, and I also knew it was a high-profile case, and I wanted to make sure I got a spot in the courtroom.
Right.
So I got up at 5:30 and figured I'll leave at 6:30ish, 6:35, and so I got down into the parking lot at like 10 to 7.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it was early, but they did let us in. What time did I get in the courtroom? I was in the courtroom before 7:30.
I used to do that a lot when I was in marketing and I have to go to all these different places, like all over Florida, like Orlando, Miami, and everything. And I would get on Google before I went anywhere. I would Google the place I was going and I'd look around it and the streets around it just to kind of get a better idea.
Mhm.
It's so much more helpful now these days. But
Yeah.
I was always so nervous going to a new place because you never know if you're going to get stuck on those one-way streets.
I knew, that they had the parking lot there behind the courthouse, and that's where I thought I was going to be able to park. And then I found I couldn't. I had to go put down a few blocks and park, and then I had to walk it. I know it was funny when I went in. Yeah, they always have to go through security. The thing.
Yeah.
And of course, I go through and I beep, of course. And the guy looks at me, has the wand in his hand. He goes, "You have a knee, don't you?" I go, "Yeah, I do." He says, "Zoop," and he's run the thing by my knee and it beeped the same. And he goes, "Okay, you're good, hon." I'm like, "Okay."
You guys are trying to figure out what time. At 6:41 Central Time this morning, Carrie sent me the picture you sent her of you in the courtroom. So that's how early you were there.
Yeah.
So it was 7:41.
Yeah, your time.
Yeah.
Well, no, but
Well,
actually,
I didn't take
that was
I didn't take the picture right away. I had been sitting in there for 10, 15 minutes. And I was,
well.
oh, I should send Carrie a picture.
I didn't send it to Laura right away either because I was driving. So
Because
yeah,
then
that
when I
was
sent it, and then that guy that's been like taking people up to and you hear him whispering, the
yeah.
old guy, he is really nice. He's the one that told me, he said, well, you can just sit right here till we can go in. He's the one that told me, he come over later and he goes, it's okay, you got your phone out now. He goes, but when court starts, he goes, you can't do pictures or video or anything. He's no audio or video. I said, oh, okay. I said, I was just texting a friend. He goes, no, that's okay. So then that's when I thought, okay, I'm going to
There she
put my phone
is.
away so I don't forget.
Well,
Hey,
hello,
guys.
Miss Ashley.
Hello, Ashley.
Hi, Ashley.
Hey, yeah. So, like I was saying, my sister's mom owns Verna's, where Marshella was that day.
Yeah.
I guess she went to a doctor's appointment supposedly that morning, and then she stopped in there and she had like a bowl of chili and like one glass of wine, and everybody was blaming them for being responsible. And I think she left and went home and drank, honestly.
Well, and that's what I was saying. I said from day one when they first showed those attorneys saying that they were going to sue Verna's, and I'm like, wait a minute. They already said they looked at the receipts and she only had chili and a glass of wine, and that was like 3 hours before the accident. So how can they blame Verna's? That makes no sense. So I'm hoping that gets thrown out.
Yeah, I really hope that they don't get blamed for that because honestly, I think like I don't know about her medications or what was going on with her, but I think that she ended up leaving there. I mean, you can see the footage of her leaving her house.
Yes.
She looks trashed, like
Oh, she was.
Yeah.
a total mess. Like she clearly, I know she has like physical issues and whatnot, but that was like, she was a mess.
I don't
You know
walk
what'd be
like
cool?
that, and I have neuropathy.
You know what'd
No.
be
Yeah, I
cool?
was in a rollover car accident. Like, I don't walk like that. Like, I mean, something was not right with her. And
Mm-mm.
clearly, they wouldn't be serving her. I think she went in there at like 11 a.m. or something, and the accident happened at what, 4?
Yeah,
3.
3 or 4.
Little
Yeah.
after 3,
Yeah.
yep.
And
But
the crazy thing is that I had seen all this stuff pop up on I was working. I work from home and I was working and I had all these like Facebook notifications. And I happened to message my sister because I was like, oh, you live in Newport. Like, did you hear about this birthday party, this accident or whatever? And I had no clue that the lady was there, at my sister's mom's bar or whatever.
Oh,
And
wow.
and she was like, yeah, she was like, that lady was there. And I heard from some people locally that she is known to like drink and hide it from her husband and
Mhm.
like sit in the car, or she'll like go and park somewhere and drink, or she'll like hide at home. And
Well, there's
I
been
don't
so
think he
many
was
of them
there
that
that day.
so many of them have said like that from the boat club that they've had to help her out many a times.
Yeah.
Help her walk because she can't even walk. She gets so trashed.
Yeah. And she was like the Commodore at that boat club.
Yep, she
I still don't
was.
understand what a Commodore is. Is it
It's
like
like
a
the
board of
main
director?
person in charge, like if you had like a
Kind of
police
like the
chief or
president,
something. Yeah.
like a president of the club, so to
Yeah,
speak.
so she was like voted or whatever, like the main person there.
It's been
And
a few years. That was several years ago, though, right?
yeah, it was a while back, I believe.
It would
But
be
it's
cool.
crazy. Like I looked on Facebook and I'm like, oh my God, I'm friends with like so many people that are friends with her. And it's like, I never heard of her. I don't know her, but I know that her and her husband had like master's degrees. Like, I think she was high up at DTE or like Fermi. And I think he works as like a chemical engineer. And yeah, it's just crazy.
Well, somebody said something about them having 2 houses, and I'm thinking, yeah, their finances are going to be trashed after this civil lawsuit goes
Oh
through.
yeah.
Oh
They're
yeah.
it's
Oh yeah.
done.
I
Oh
want to
yeah. He's
see.
gonna lose it.
I want the
For sure.
prosecution. I want the prosecution to play the video of the ring camera footage of her leaving the house that first time in the morning, before
Yeah.
she went to Verna's, and then show her leaving the second time, because I would be curious to see if you could see any difference in her walk or anything.
Oh, that's a good point.
Yep.
Is that public?
I don't know if it's public, but
I've never,
I
yeah, that would be
the
really
ring.
interesting to see.
Yeah,
The
we've
Ring
seen the
cameras
one
would
ring.
show it.
Yeah, it would be there if the other one was there. So we've already seen the one where she comes out drunk. So I want to see the
Right.
one before that earlier in the day.
Yeah.
I
And I
like I
heard
said,
that
she
she
walked
hit like
perfectly
another
fine today.
vehicle or something before the neighbor's truck, like on the way back from Verna's but it was hours later, I guess. So I don't know if that's true. Like everything's kind of, you know how people talk online and
Yeah,
whatnot.
right.
Yeah.
Well, that's
But
because,
I
like,
heard
I had
that
heard
she
that
hit
she went to
something
a friend
else,
and
like a
drank.
tree or something.
Oh, I
But
heard
she,
that too.
yeah, she did hit something before she crashed into the Swan Boat Club. Don't
Well, she hit
remember
the
what it
neighbor's
was, but
truck.
she hit something.
Yeah, she hit
Yeah,
the
they
neighbor's
had it on
truck.
her own Ring camera where she backed out and hit like the neighbor across the street's truck. But I heard she hit something else before she got home.
If you guys that are watching have not seen all the footage and everything, I put up a video on Sunday that would kind of prep everybody for trial. And I've marked down the evidentiary hearing that shows a lot of this footage that you can go through and watch if you want to do that tonight before in the morning. If you're going to be joining us again tomorrow for the rest of the trial, what did they say? 2-week trial, or did they say less?
No. He said this morning 5 to 7 days. The
Okay,
judge
that's
did.
better.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't like really, really, really long trials.
And I heard that her lawyer like had some issue like with his son or something.
His son died last year. He had a son and a daughter, and his son died last year. But he didn't. He mentioned that this morning because he asked every single potential juror if they had children, how old they were, and if they were boys or girls.
Oh wow! I
And I
heard
think
his
it was
son had
because
like
of
an
the children.
overdose or something a couple months ago.
Yeah, I'm not sure. He never said what the cause was. He just said that he died. He said last year,
Jeez.
so maybe it was
Allegedly. I'm not trying to go to jail, guys.
Yeah.
Get sued.
Yeah,
But yeah,
that's
I don't
sad.
know. I just heard that around town, but yeah, so my dad was married to the owner of Verna's, and it's one of like the oldest bars in the state of Michigan.
Mhm.
And I worked for her before. She operates really legit. She doesn't allow, you don't overserve, you don't mess around. She has strict
Well,
rules.
she's been there forever.
She's been there forever. She does lots of like fundraising for kids that are sick, just
I
families.
see that
Like
on Facebook a lot. Yep.
she's
Yep.
a good person, and
I've been wanting to stop in there and eat, and I just haven't because
they have great food, and she's a good person. And it just
Yeah.
sucked to see like the first press conference with the Monroe County Sheriff or whatever it was. The first thing was like they were like, "Oh, Marshella went to Verna's or whatever," and it's like they didn't even
yeah.
know, and they shut her down for a couple days, and
Yep.
so
did
she
they?
gave them all the
Oh,
footage.
they did to do the search warrant. They shut her down. Yeah, she was shut down for a couple
So
days.
she gave them all the camera footage,
Yep.
the receipts, like everything, and they were like, "Oh, well, she just came in and had like a bowl of soup or chili or something, and one glass of white wine." But I guess she was like, I think it was like 11 a.m. or something. She was like coming back from a doctor's appointment. But I heard that she hides like her drinking from her husband, and
Yeah.
she will tend to like drink in her car or wait till he leaves the house, and then she'll go back and like binge drink kind of deal.
That's why she's day drinking. Yeah. He
Yeah.
knows it. I'm sure he knows it, but he just
I'm
ignores
sure
it.
he knows. He has to know.
So let me ask you guys this, because this was coming up earlier when this first all came out, and I have not heard a bit of it since the trial started or since the evidentiary hearing. Somebody had started a rumor that said that she was mad at her husband. She thought he might have been at the boat club, and that's why she rammed into it on purpose. I don't think that's the truth.
Too.
I heard that rumor too. Yeah. At the very beginning, I heard it. I haven't heard it since.
But I think he might have been at work that day.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't think he was at the boat club because
I don't
that would
think he
have
was
come
at the
out.
boat club at all.
I would
No,
think that would have
he
come
was
out.
gone somewhere.
Yeah.
Because she wouldn't have been drinking like that if she was trying to hide it from him and whatever. I don't think she would have been getting that wasted at her house. And
So yeah, I think that
she
was
just
definitely a
happened to go
rumor.
up there to go hang out because people said that she would just show up mid-afternoon. I mean, allegedly, like I said, I'm not trying to
Right,
get in trouble
right.
here. But from what I've heard, she would just show up midday, like
Well, they
just
said it
crashed.
in the evidentiary hearing. One of the guys said that they'd helped her out of the bar many and many a times,
Oh yeah.
wobble out because she'd been drinking too much. So that's on the record. But I think we're going to hear more of that. It's going to get into more detail of that with the next witnesses that come up, people that are around the club and whatnot. A lot of people that knew her history because she was such a regular there. So that's going to be to her detriment in this trial.
Definitely. Oh yeah, for sure. And I hate to judge somebody, you know, I don't know what she's going through, and I feel bad if she's dealing with an alcohol problem, or, you know, I don't want to judge a person, but the way that she's been acting about, it just seems like she's just so, like, I don't know, like uncaring, like she doesn't, I don't
She's
know.
not shown any remorse at all. None.
She's
I
not
just feel
shown
like
any
if that was
emotion at
me, I'd
all.
be beside myself.
You know, but the thing of it is if it was even true that it was just a seizure and that she had absolutely no control over it and there was no alcohol involved, I would still be devastated. I would be crying. I would be sad. I would be saying, I'm so sorry or whatever. She's not
Yeah.
doing any of that.
She's never even shown remorse when it's come
She
to her
just-
own self or about. Like she's
No.
shown no emotion whatsoever throughout this whole thing.
Yeah. And my husband was like, well, maybe it's her lawyer telling her, you know, don't react because that's like admitting guilt or whatever. But it's just like, you know, at what point do you stop and say, okay, this poor woman lost her babies? I mean, she lost her 2 babies. Like,
Yep.
it's just so horrific. And it's
This
like,
woman,
at least like admit, like, at least like
And not
be
only does she
apologetic for what
probably
happened.
she
You don't have
probably
to
has
admit you're wrong.
lifetime injuries to deal with on top of her son that survived probably has lifetime injuries too.
It's
So they're dealing with
so sad.
PTSD and the loss of their family members.
yeah.
And the
So
and
sad.
the fact that the sister had to tell the mother of these 2 children
Yes.
when she came out of the coma that
Yes.
she was in that her 2 kids were gone. That's enough
Can't
to
even
break anybody.
imagine. Oh, it's so
Yeah, but
bad.
I feel like this woman is in her own hell probably that we don't even know about, and she's dealing with the demons of her alcoholism, and it's her own hell. It's her own hell, and you know, we'll let the jury be the
Yep.
the final
It
say
just
on
makes
it.
you
But
wonder, like, how did she manage for so long, like, not even getting a traffic ticket? Like,
Well, she probably walked to the boat club all the time.
yeah, I did hear that, like I said, her husband supposedly purchased that house because he didn't want her driving drunk.
Yeah.
So he purchased a home close by. And I don't know if that's true or not, but
I heard that too.
if that's the case, it's like, oh, how long has this been going on? You know, it's
No,
just,
that's enabling.
yeah.
But not long enough for her to get blocked from being able to go there.
I wonder if they're going to bring her husband up on the stand.
That's what I wonder. And has he been in court? Do you know, Pattie?
He was not there yet this morning. Her attorney said that he would be joining later today.
If he's
So,
going to testify,
I'm wondering
he
if-
can't be in. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, he can be, Laura. This is the
Mm-mm.
one. The judge is allowing anybody who's well, no, that was the victims' families, but he'd have to do it on the other side too, though. He's allowing people that are testifying to watch the entire trial.
Oh, okay. I didn't catch that one.
But he said the victims, so I don't know if it includes the defense. I don't see how he could exclude that. But yeah, this is crazy. This is a sad. It's gonna get worse to watch. I mean, I think today was tough
Yeah.
because of all the videos and everything, but the mother's gonna have to get up and testify, and not only her older son was also injured pretty badly.
Yeah.
I
That's what I
even
mean.
imagine.
Not only did she lose 2 babies, but not only that, she's got her lifetime injuries that she's healing from, and his lifetime injuries that he's healing from, because they were in the hospital for quite a while. So it's not even been a year. You can't tell me they're all hunky dory and everything's great now.
Right. And what
And on
about the
top of
lady?
that, PTSD.
What about the lady in the wheelchair? I wonder if she's still in the wheelchair. She was
You know,
during the
I don't
evidentiary
know.
hearing.
We had a lot of GoFundMe's that went out when this initially happened, and you know, I picked a few. I couldn't do all of them, but hers was one of them because she was so catastrophically injured that she was in the hospital for quite a while, and then had to go to a rehab facility and they gave quite a few updates for the first few months, and that I haven't heard anything since. Because if you do a GoFundMe, a lot of times you'll get an email like later on, like updates, and
Yeah.
I haven't heard anything
So
since like last summer.
that GoFundMe that I put up on mine did really good for them. I know the last that I heard that they were over 100,000 that they got through that one. It's not
Yeah,
the
I
one
think
that
the
I
last
didn't
I heard
start
they were
it. I
like
shared it.
140 something thousand.
Yeah.
Which
Was that for the babies, the kids?
I think it was for the mom.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
And
for the
just,
actual
it broke
That
my
was
family.
heart
another
to
one
see
that
like the
I
uncles
did.
on the news, like standing outside the boat club, and it just broke my heart. It was
Yeah.
so sad.
Yeah,
He's who
that
I saw in
interview was
court
in that
today.
video that I put up Sunday. His
Yeah.
interviews at the very end of that video.
And
Yeah,
it's like
I've
they
seen
were
him
so
come in today.
young, they were so tiny, like,
Yeah,
and to
they're
be doing
babies.
like a happy thing. And like I said, my husband's good friend, it was his nephew actually who works for EMT, and he showed up there, and we messaged him and asked him when it was going on, because it was like, all like on Facebook and stuff that day when it was happening, and we were like, what's going on? And he said that there was, I think he was saying there was a grandma there or something, and he was worried about her. He was taking care of her. But he said it was really horrific, and everything he saw was just going to haunt him pretty much forever. And
Ashley, do you remember the plane that went down in Maybe about 30 years ago? Well, you might not remember. I don't know how old you are.
was it like a life flight or something?
No, it was a passenger plane that went down in
No,
Maybe.
I don't think
I
I
was
heard
just
about it.
okay. Well, I'm 65, so I would remember it. I just now looking at your picture, like she probably wasn't even born yet. But anyway, I was good friends with an first responder. He's a fireman in that area, and he responded to that, and it was
Oh,
just. I mean, he'd been a first responder for many, many years. I mean, he was like my age, and he said that was like the worst because everybody died. They had babies on that
oh my
plane, and
gosh.
yeah,
Yeah.
and because we were like a couple blocks where I was working from the hospital, and the hospital got notification for that they would be bringing injured, right? Well, then they got notification that
Nobody
there would
survived.
be nobody survived. Yeah, it was
Oh.
awful.
Hmm.
Yeah, the people that show up to these things to help. I mean, I can't imagine what the police and the EMTs and the people on the life flight and ambulances, and I can't even imagine. Like,
Yeah,
horrific. And
yeah.
then the fact that they had them babies stuck on, it's just watching that footage. It's
And
every
I
time
didn't
it
know
gets
until
me, and
today.
I don't like to see it. Like, I usually fast forward through it, but you can't help but just feel so bad, like, for everybody
And I
there.
did not
And they
know
were
that
all like
Zayn was
chaos,
alive. I didn't know that Zayn was alive when they first pulled him out.
Oh,
I thought
my
they were both
goodness.
killed right away or died right away.
Oh my God.
Unalived. I'm
I
sorry.
feel like it
Whatever.
would be so difficult to not want to attack her. Like,
Yeah.
if I was in court, like, I would literally just somebody, like, I don't know how everybody's keeping their composure, because I would literally want to just attack her. And the fact that she's also stayed out of jail, I know, like, she has, she's doing it legally, she has a bond or whatever, but there are people who get like traffic tickets or silly little like charges, and they're in jail for 90 days or however
Right.
much. It makes me
Unpaid
kind of
child
angry.
support. Yep.
Well, this is probably a good time for me to share this really quick. And thank you, I Love History, for bringing this up, because I did not think about it. But alcoholism is a problem. It's a disease that many Americans and many people all over the United States and outside the United States have. And they're local groups in the areas. It's hard to give like one 800 number or whatever, but if you Google Alcoholics Anonymous, near me, I'm sure you could find one. There's tons of literature online that they have, and even if it's not in your area, it's still good. It's still good information to get and look at. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
I just posted the 800 number for AA.
Oh, thank
And
you very much.
she knows that she has a problem because I'm sure that there have been people, whether they're family or friends, or even people at the boat club, that have made mention to her that she needed help. And the fact that she hides it from her husband is kind of a clue to me that she knows it's an issue.
Yeah.
So it's just sad. It's
Yeah.
just sad. I mean, I'm not, I'm
Yeah,
not trying
it
to
really
dog
is.
on
It's
her. It's just
nothing to be
sad that,
ashamed of. I mean, people deal with things. Like I said, I was in a car accident. I was on medication. I dealt with things. It's nothing to be ashamed of. It's just my whole thing is just the attitude.
yeah,
Like, I just feel like if I made a mistake like that, I would be beside myself. Like,
yeah,
But
I
then
just,
I go back to that. Think about the way she's been from day one. Even after the accident, she showed nothing, like
yes,
nothing. So you have to remember that everybody acts differently. I don't know how she normally is in real
exactly.
life.
Yeah.
Now we have we have the news clip that she did, which is also in that link that we put up earlier from Sunday's video I dropped.
Yeah, I saw that. And she like didn't want to go into it much, probably because her lawyer or whatever.
Yeah.
and she
But
said she prayed for the victims every day.
But gosh, I mean, I don't know if I'd even be living still, honestly.
Yeah,
I would be so
I wouldn't.
freaking just beside myself that I did that. Like,
yeah,
I really don't want to judge because I don't know her situation. I don't know her as a person. And we have to have compassion for people and,
yeah,
but at the same time, this poor mom, I mean,
yeah.
oh, I can't even freaking imagine. Like, and the people that witnessed all that and the people that were there are just,
They're
I just
gonna
feel
have
like
to
she's
see
kind
that
of
the rest of their
insensitive,
lives.
maybe. Like,
Yeah,
and I don't know if that's like the lawyer's like whole plan, but I feel like that she needs to maybe own up to something. And I don't know. It just seems very insensitive and it makes it worse, I feel like.
well, I think she's got herself convinced that it was
Her
a
seizure or
seizure.
whatever.
Yeah,
And
I think she
I mean,
really
it
truly
very
doesn't
well
think she
could
did
have
anything wrong.
been. Maybe she could have been drinking and had a seizure. Who knows? I mean, it could have
But the
been
thing
like
of it is that
exacerbating it or something.
her attorney at the beginning, I can remember, was saying, "Oh, she has seizures in her legs," and I'm like, "Listen, dude, I worked for a neurologist for years. You don't have seizures in your legs. Your whole
And the
body
video
has a
was so
seizure, and it
horrific.
comes from your brain. You don't just have a seizure in your legs. There's no such thing."
Yeah, I've never heard of that.
What somebody was saying about how somebody in the chat was talking about how you act after a seizure or how somebody body reacts after a seizure and her body didn't look like it. I would
Right.
love it if they had a doctor up on the stand that says this is what she would have been going through had she had a seizure. This is what her feelings would have been, how her body would have felt, what her body would have been doing if she had been
Mhm.
passed out,
Mhm.
how long would she have been passed out, yada yada. Oh,
That's interesting.
You
Yeah.
are very disoriented after a seizure. My
Yeah.
dad started having seizures when his cancer went from his lungs to his brain, and he started having seizures and strokes until they were able to drain those tumors in his brain. Then that subsided, but until we knew what it was, he started having seizures. Never had them before, and he would come out of the seizure and be like, "What's going on?" He
Yeah,
had no
usually they're
clue.
very confused.
Yeah,
Like,
very
like
confused.
what
Yeah.
happened?
They're very
But-
confused. They're disoriented. They can't walk or stand on their own, and that usually lasts on an average of 10 minutes to an hour when you have a seizure.
So what do you guys think? Do you guys
I don't think
that
she did.
she had a seizure? Like, what's
No.
your opinion?
Well,
She
here's
wasn't
the
showing any
problem.
signs.
Here's the problem. If she had had seizures before in the past, if she truly had them in the past, then she would know how to feel and how to act afterwards. That's a problem because if she's faking it, she knows how to fake it a little bit.
She was too oriented. She knew what was going on. She was not.
She could walk.
Yeah, she was just.
She was
sitting there.
talking to the cop very well.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
she didn't
Watching
even seem
everything
drunk,
like,
honestly.
okay. And you would not be like that if you had a full-blown seizure.
Mm-mm.
I wonder how many minutes passed from the time of the accident to the time of that footage of her in the back of the cop car where she was talking to the cop and she was like, yeah, I did drink today and, whatever she was saying to him. I wonder how much time had passed
I'm only
because
guessing
then
maybe
they
10
also
minutes.
had her sitting there after the accident, sitting in that chair. And she's
So
just
weird.
staring at her car that's like wrecked. It's like,
That's the
how
only
are
thing
you
she seemed
not?
worried about was her car. And I know it was a while before they took her into the police car, but they have her on video from start to finish.
Yeah.
And she never showed
Okay.
any of those signs or any of that.
Right.
Gosh.
So even though we haven't seen everything yet, they have it from the minute she pulled down that street till finish booking with her and everything else like that. They've got everything on video.
And
Yep.
she was so wasted that she couldn't even like help anybody else. She could barely help herself.
And I don't even think she realized like what had happened. Like
Yeah.
I don't even think she had a clue that there might be people under her car. Like she was just totally just like dazed, and I don't know. That's the thing that bothers me though. It's like, okay, I can see then she was drunk or had a seizure, whatever. But it's like after the fact, sitting in court, she's still like, I don't know, like zombified. Like she's just like, I just feel like, where's the emotion? Like I'm
why-
watching it from home and I'm crying, like in my living room watching it. Like, you know what I mean? I'm like in tears watching like the footage of like the cops and the people telling the stories on the stand, and watching like just all the camera footage or whatever. And it's like, I just feel like she's so numb or something to it.
Well, and like her attorney said, well, her doctor said that she could drive after 6 months, and so she was driving because she had a seizure. And it
yeah,
had
and
been
then her
6 months.
doctor ended
And
up
I'm like,
getting in trouble or
but
something
wait a
too.
minute. I worked for a neurologist. If we had a patient that had seizures, they were told you cannot drive for 6 months. We notified the DMV. They had to come back after 6 months of being seizure free to get a release from us before we could let the DMV know they could drive.
Well,
Now,
there's
if
the
her
problem.
doctor supposedly told her, "Oh, just drive after 6 months,"
And
the thing
he's
of it is,
supposedly in trouble too.
and the
Like,
thing of it is she
getting in
had a
trouble.
seizure in March and she drove in April. But she said the doctor told me I could drive.
Oh,
Well,
I'm
not
sorry, but if my doctor told me I could drive and I was having seizures, like,
yeah, he is in trouble for, I believe
it's
it
like,
was
okay, I
for
wouldn't be driving.
drugs or fraud or something. I can't know. Well,
It's a pill mill.
that's why her attorney. We've had a few of those in Monroe, unfortunately.
Yeah, we
Pill mill
have.
doctors. We have, and that's really sad. But
It's sad, but
and a
it's true.
gynecologist that's in jail for the same thing, and I think for SA, if I'm not mistaken. But he, and that's why her attorney was trying to get the trial postponed, because her doctor, if he called him as a witness, was going to plead the fifth because he's got his ongoing case. So
And
he
I
wouldn't
missed
really be
court
helping
today.
her.
Like I was working and I have little kids and whatnot, but I did catch like some of the beginning of the video or end of your guys' video before we got on here. And I did see something about they're trying to have like a doctor that can't go on a plane.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the judge ruled that out. Yeah.
Okay.
Her attorney wanted this doctor, I think it was, he hired out of Florida to do a Zoom witness.
That's crazy.
But he's got something wrong with him that if he gets on an airplane because of the pressure, these blood clots could go to his brain, and he can't drive because it's so many hours or whatever. And so he wanted to do Zoom. Well, the prosecution said, no, they don't want to cross-examine somebody on Zoom. And the judge said, he hasn't flown for 20 years, and he could have gotten on in a car and driven up here like last week and made it here by Monday. He says, you hire somebody who hasn't been on a plane in 20 years? He said, no, I deny your request.
Yeah.
He was mad.
Well, it came up the last minute with that too. I mean, they've been going through this for a while now.
He does everything at the last minute.
Do we know if she has any children, Marshella?
I don't know if she has any children, but I do know that, don't quote me on this, but I did see like a 2020 episode or something where her niece, I think it was, if you Google like her name and you Google like her niece was killed by some guy that she met online, like, I don't know, in the early 2000s. She met some serial killer guy and she moved out of state to Oklahoma, or I don't even remember, honestly, but somewhere where she had stayed. And her sister was the mom of the girl, and she was like, well, where's my daughter? And I guess she had like a little dog, and the mom's like, well, what's going on with my daughter, and why is she not like answering the phone, and this, that, and the other? And they found her body or something like on his property.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's
I
like a
didn't know
whole
that.
thing. Yeah, and I
This is
don't.
Marshella's niece.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
how'd you
From
find
what
out
I
about
could
2020? Because
gather,
I
from
watched
what
all
I gathered,
2020.
I did like some, online sleuthing because I'm like, I think I'm cool and whatever, but I don't know if it's true. Like, don't quote me on it, but yeah. And my mom, I think, went to school with the lady, like the lady's, the girl that passed away or whatever, her niece.
Yeah. How many people live in that town over there where y'all are at?
Oh, and her also, Marshella's mom, and sister both own homes on like the same street or like right by that boat club. I think her mom passed away. I don't know if her sister's still alive, but I think it was her sister's daughter. So that's another thing. It's like, well, did her husband really purchase the home because of her drinking, or did they purchase the home because
The sister lived there.
the family? Yeah. So I'm kind of confused. Also, I believe that her family, if you look into like that boat club, I believe her family has like a history there.
Mm.
Maybe it was her mom or dad. Somebody else was high up in that boat club or members or something at some point. But yeah, it's crazy because like I have friends that I went to high school with that are like friends with her on Facebook, and I don't know, I guess they had like a house up north or something, and I guess like
That's
they
not
had
uncommon.
decent amount of money, and it's just crazy. I think she worked for like Detroit Edison, like the like Fermi or high up at Fermi or something. I think she has like a master's degree or two.
Yeah.
Wow.
So she's not like an idiot.
Right, but
No.
but that's just alcohol hits everybody. It affects. Well, I read this one time. It affects there's a connection in every family to alcoholism, one way or another.
What
I
do we
wanna-
have, Ashley? 150,000 in Monroe County, I think. About that.
Yeah, I know. It's not like, it's not super huge. I mean, it's
No,
getting
uh-uh.
bigger, but
That's
yeah,
how y'all
Well,
know
that's
everybody.
because of all the pot shops.
Well,
I'm
I'm
gonna
gonna
popping up everywhere.
I'm gonna cut it short for tonight, or I'm gonna cut it off for tonight. And I want to remind you guys to go over to Laura's channel. She's gonna be doing some stuff on. Well, Laura, I'll let you tell us. What are you doing some stuff on?
Well, I'm continuing with the Gacy series.
I was
that
just
I've been
going to ask
doing.
if you had more Gacy. Yay.
Oh
Yes,
God,
I do.
I gotta check you out. I haven't even seen your channel.
Well, you'll be surprised, but yeah, I knew him. I knew his family. I knew many of the
She's got
victims.
great content on
No
Gacy.
way.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
his mom and my grandmother were friends, and his grandmother
Wow.
lived in the same building as my mom, my grandmother, and I'd been at his house and all this other stuff. So I put out
Holy crap, that is so crazy.
I put out some of that stuff, and a lot of the pictures and the videos and stuff like that I came across after going through all my parents' old stuff and my grandmother's old stuff. And now I figured it's time to tell the story. So I actually have original pictures and information and everything else that wasn't public but is now become public because people are sharing the heck out of my stuff. But I've still got more of that going, and I'm also putting together the Pamela Smart trial that happened in the early 90s, where she was
good.
with the teacher and the student relationship, and the students ended her husband's life.
Yep.
And she adamantly was refusing to take responsibility, has now come forth and said she was involved and is taking accountability.
She also wasn't it just recently she tried parole and she was denied?
She keeps trying. She was not granted parole with her sentence. She was life without parole.
Life without.
She's been attempting to get her sentence changed.
Reduced. Okay. I
Yeah.
thought it was something like that.
Yeah, because the
that'll be good.
The actual 4 that did it, they're all free. They're all out, and she feels like it's not fair, but she would never take blame. So I'm working on that. And
Well, they
then,
were kids too.
yeah, they were 15, 16 years old. And then I was texting with Carrie earlier. I'm thinking, and I'm not sure if I'm going to do it yet or not, but I'm thinking about recovering the Browns chicken massacre that happened.
That's a crazy one.
Yeah,
Browns
because that,
chicken.
I
yeah,
don't think I heard about that one.
that was in the early 90s, and it happened in Palatine. Brown's Chicken, a couple of people came in at closing, ended everybody that was, all the employees that were there, stacked them up in the coolers,
Mm.
Oh my
and
God.
robbed, and then nobody knew who did this for like, I think it was like 8 or 9 years later, they finally got a lead to the person.
Oh my
They've,
goodness.
they've gotten the people from a DNA, because the guys that came in right before they closed actually ordered chicken and ate it and
Oh,
threw
Mm.
out some of it. So they had all this DNA. They just didn't
so
have
they had
anybody.
DNA. Wow.
So they had
Didn't
to
have the
look.
access or the ability to do DNA back
Yeah,
then.
until
Right.
an ex-girlfriend came forward and finally felt like she could express what happened without being in fear, and they've been convicted. But it's interesting. The reason why I mentioned that one is because it was a huge case, and it was very on the news every day for like 3 years around here.
I probably once I like see pictures and stuff, I bet you I'll remember because
It was,
I've always been interested in true crime
yeah,
stuff.
it was a
Laura,
mile
where do you
from.
live?
I
What
live.
state are you in?
I'm in Illinois right now. I live in Schaumburg.
Okay.
This happened in Palatine, and when it happened in Palatine, I was living in Rolling Meadows. I was
Okay, so
about,
that explains the stories.
yep, yeah, well,
the
yeah,
John Wayne Gacy stuff is really interesting because I heard that I watched some stuff about his lawyer that she was helping him, I think, with his appeal or something. And she was saying how he acted different towards like females and males, and how he was like just so sure of himself and like cocky and
oh, he's an
but
arrogant SOB.
yeah, and it was very interesting. I saw some other documentaries about how like I think it was his sister that was on like a YouTube documentary I watched.
Yeah, Karen probably.
Discussing like how like their childhood was like super like seemingly normal anyway. But yeah, it's just crazy.
It depends on who you listen to and who you talk to, because
Yeah,
one side
yeah.
says that they were fine, the other
And other
side
ones
says
say, yeah,
they weren't.
exactly.
So
Yeah.
I never met Gacy's father. He passed away before I was born, so I didn't meet him, but I knew Marion, I knew his sisters, I knew several of the victims, I knew him. My grandmother was very much in the political circle around in Chicago. I have cousins that are lawyers and attorneys and doctors and everything, so it's a big spread family. So a lot of this stuff, you know, they have so much hype about him being in the picture with Rosalind Carter. Well, that was at a fundraiser here that he was an escort for, not an escort like in a paid escort. He was an escort that would
Not like a sexual
at a
escort.
theater. Yeah, like at a theater where he would walk you to where you need to sit or where you need
Oh,
to be. That
My
was
mom
his
did
role
that.
in
My
that.
mom did that when she was a teenager at the downtown Monroe Theater
Yeah,
with the
but
flashlight.
they hyped it up like he was social friends with this person, and she spent 2 seconds with him basically while he walked her to a table.
Huh.
But that's the big thing, you know, and it's just there's so much about it and everything. So I've been talking about that. I think I've got 8 or 9 videos up about it now.
It's crazy how like they can be so like I don't know, people can just like they're charismatic, like narcissistic types, and
Yeah.
then they're psychos, like, you know, behind the scenes. It's so bizarre.
Yeah.
But
that's why
like,
I love what
kind of like Ted
Laura's
Bundy
doing.
stuff.
Yeah, because that's where Laura's like going there on her channel with all of these older cases that were mysteries for a long time. And it's so
I
cool
love
the
that
way
stuff.
that she structures her channel because of the fact that if you think about it, back then we didn't have the internet. We didn't have all these
Yes.
things
Right.
we have now.
I'm so
So
like excited to check out your channel, Laura, because
Oh, please
I didn't
do.
even know about it till now, but that
You
stuff
need
is
to,
so
Ashley, because
interesting to me.
her
When
Gacy
my
stuff
kids
is
are in
great.
bed, my husband's asleep, I stay up late and I watch my true crime, and
You sound like all of
I've
us.
seen Carrie's videos about the OnlyFans girl and Courtney Clenny or whatever, and all her house and all the things. That's where I started
Oh,
following
thank you,
Carrie.
Grandma.
And
Oh, that's awesome.
it's so interesting, but I especially love like the old stories. So
Yeah.
I can't
Yeah, so
wait
y'all,
to
her link
dive
is in
into
the
all your videos.
her link is in the chat, so please go in there and check it out, you guys, when you have time. And it's going to be interesting to see what she finds out. Let me know if you need any help, Laura.
I know.
Yeah,
I will.
I'll definitely check
All
it
right.
out. And Carrie, by the way, I will reach out to my sister and my sister's mom that owns Verna's and just see if they have anything to say
I
about
think from a legal,
Marshella.
well, thank you. I think from a legal standpoint, her attorney would tell her not to say anything right now.
Yeah,
So don't
probably.
you
I
think?
think that my sister might be able to say something. Maybe not the mom.
Okay. All right.
But you know, honestly, there's a receipt. There's camera footage. Like she definitely wasn't wasted when she came in there. So you know, it is what it is. But
your friend's family and that business are definitely in our thoughts and prayers, and we hope that they don't get held
I really
liable for
do.
what this
Yeah. I
person
really,
did.
really hope that because it's already bad enough to have just any tie to that. Like, I can't imagine what they're feeling like. And,
Well,
it's got to be awful.
I think that this trial, this criminal trial, will actually help with the civil trial. A lot of stuff's going to come out that
For
maybe
sure.
that we don't even know yet. So
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. So okay, we got to get up here. We got to get up early in the morning, you guys. So let's call it.
Yes, we need.
All right.
It's 10
But
o'clock here. So
thanks for covering everything, Carrie. And I'll check out Laura's channel. And it was nice to meet you, Pattie.
Thank
You
you.
too,
Thank you for coming
Ashley.
up. Thank you for coming up, Ashley, and thank you, Miss Pattie, for all that you did today. That's a
No
lot of
problem.
work. Go rest, and then we'll
My
see you guys
pleasure.
all in the morning.
Sounds good.
Thank you,
Have a
Miss
good night,
Laura.
everyone.
All right, guys. Take care.
Good
Bye.
night. Thank you, Miss Laura, and thank you, Bama, for being great mods. Love you
You're
guys so
welcome.
much.
We love you
And
too.
thank you all for being here with us. I know all my OGs. Louise is still in the chat. Look at her. Y'all have a blessed evening, and I will see you early in the morning. Thank you, Miss
Sounds good.
Nanya. All right. Bye, y'all.
Bye.